Megan?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Megan Flynn. I'm with Government and Community Affairs at the MTA, and I'm also the Brooklyn Borough Rep.
Hey, Megan, one second. We can hardly hear you. I'm going to see if we can adjust the TV's volume in person. Just one sec, and we'll do a sound check. All right, it's already pretty high. You can just speak so we can do a sound check. Is this better, folks? A little bit? Go ahead and try to continue, and then if we need to, we'll try again.
So I'm Megan Flynn. I'm with Government and Community Affairs from the MTA. I'm also the Brooklyn Borough Rep, and I am also the rep of this Board 4. So you can come to me with all transit issues. But today we are here to present on a project that we're going to be starting next month over at Gates Avenue on the J line. We are going to be starting an ADA upgrade project, and I'm joined by the project team, some members of the project team, Carlos Lopez, and then I'm also joined by Connor Irving from the MTA as well. I will bring up a presentation for folks to run through, and then we run through the presentation and then leave some times for question and answer. Can everyone see this? Good?
We don't see the presentation yet. It's just the home screen of the computer you're using. Yes, now we can see it.
I mentioned we will be starting an ADA upgrade project here at Gates Avenue. This is part of a larger bundle. So it is project bundle 9. And we have 2 other sites that are over in Queens, and this is one that will be in Brooklyn. Increase our infrastructure throughout the system. We will be making improvements on the platform level, making repairs. So we call this a state of good repair on the platform and on the station. We will also be building 2 new elevators to make it completely ADA accessible. This contract was awarded in December 2025, and we expect the station to be completed in Q2 of 2028. So like I mentioned, we'll be having 2 new elevators. They will be on what we're calling the post office side and the Walgreens side for folks who know that intersection. So they will go directly from the street level up to the platform. So you not have a mezzanine in between, and there will be new turnstile access. There will also be a boarding area. We will do reconstruction of the platform, like I mentioned, and there will also be improved reliability of the train service and of the station service. So we'll be doing a lot of work over there. This is very heavy work. We'll put in 2 new elevators. There's street work. So we'll be doing some utility relocations, structural concrete work, structure of the elevator. So that's steel framing. We'll be doing mechanical and plumbing work. We'll be redoing the ADA paths of travel. So that will be an elevated structure that will go from the elevator to the platform. We will be doing a sidewalk expansion for the street, and we will also be creating a pedestrian island for folks who are familiar with the area. There's a lot of turning and interactions with the cars and the columns. So we know that this pedestrian island will create a better traffic flow so that folks are not turning both above and below the columns over there. This will enhance customer flow and ADA accessibility. So new elevator on both sides. So each side will be completely ADA accessible. Sidewalk extensions, pedestrian ramps. So this will have improved reliability and safety overall for the pedestrians down on the street and for the customers going up into the train. and enhance the station reliability. And these elevators will be very reliable because they will be very new, and will have the reliability to get ADA passengers up to the station. I will hand it over to Carlos to talk a little bit about the rest of the presentation.
Hi, everyone. Doing sound check. Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Carlos Lopez. I am the project manager for Forte Construction. Forte is the lead contractor that is being retained by MTA to make these two new elevators happen at the intersection between Gates Avenue and Broadway. One of the main features of these elevators are that these elevators are going to go directly from the street level to the platform level. If you're familiar with the subway system, sometimes you get the elevator to a mezzanine when you cross the turnstiles, and after you pay your fare, you cross the turnstile, you get another elevator that gets you to the tracks. In this case, the riders are going to be able to go directly from the street to the same level where the turnstiles are crossed and the platform, which is what you can see here on the street. This is the north corner of Gates Avenue and Broadway. There is a U.S. Postal office there, and we're going to put the elevator right where that wall it is. I see there is some background noise. I don't know how to get rid of it. I think it's not coming from me, hopefully.
Noise on our end. You can continue.
Thank you. So moving on the other side, if you're familiar here in the south intersection of Broadway and Gates Avenue, there is a column that is one of the columns that are holding the viaduct that is kind of like in the middle of the crossing. What we're going to do is we're going to put like a refuge space, like an island, so the pedestrians can cross more safely. And also we're going to use that to create our structure to install new stairs. So at both corners, the north side and the south side, we're going to put one elevator and one staircase. In this case that you can see on the screen, we call it the Walgreens corner. If you're familiar with the area, we're going to put the stair in the vicinity where the customer entrance of the Walgreens is, without impacting the entrance of the business itself. And the elevator is going to be where the service access to the Walgreens is, again, leaving enough space so we have a nice landing area for the elevator without obstructing any access to the businesses and without getting in the way of the crosswalk. Gonna move on, Megan. Right. To make all this happen, we are trying to minimize the impact to the community. In this slide, we're summarizing what you can expect. We are going to relocate bus stop B52. We've put in B25. That's like a little typo. Excuse about that. And we're going to show you where the bus stop is going to be relocated. And the subway, we're going to have a partial closures, meaning one track at a time. We are going to shut down a platform, but there is the station, Gates Avenue, the subway station is going to be always operational, but sometimes we have to shut down one of the platforms because we are installing a new platform edge and we're doing repairs, so it's safer to use. At the street level, we're going to require some lane closures at Gates Avenue and minor parking restrictions in Broadway. We're going to show you the detail later on. And for the pedestrian traffic, we are keeping all the crossings and one sidewalk, which is that sidewalk by the intersection of Gates and Broadway where the USPS is. That one is not safe to keep. So what we're going to do is we're going to detour the traffic to the other side of the street, which is a minor detour. For businesses, we made a point not to affect access or to block the visibility of any of the businesses. And we are going to obviously monitor the noise and put the controls in place that the MTA and DOT always enact to make sure that the community is protected from the construction impacts. Can move on, Megan, here. I think we're good. If you have questions, we can go over questions later. We have some details.
It's lagging a little. There we go.
There you go. This is our plan. So you have a visual of where are we going to be working. The green spaces is where you're going to have active construction. You see that like the red square, that's the north intersection, Gates and Broadway, and the blue square is the south intersection, the Walgreens one. Can move on. The construction is going to start now at the end of June, beginning of July, and we're going to span over to the first quarter of 2028. The traffic, we're going to take one lane at Gates Avenue, meaning the traffic going southbound on Gates Avenue is going to remain untouched, no changes in there. But the traffic going northbound to Bushwick Avenue and Gates, that one is going to be detoured in two ways. You can make a left turn from Gates Avenue onto Rolfe and through Linden Street back through Bushwick Avenue, or you can make a right turn to Rolfe and get Madison Street and go back to Gates. Both options are going to be available. For pedestrians, as you can see here, is like the black dotted line. All the crossings in the intersection are going to remain open, and the only trench of the sidewalk that we're going to close during construction because it's not safe to put pedestrians around us is by the USPS office. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a temporary crosswalk or a temporary pedestrian crossing so the people using that sidewalk can go around our construction area safely towards the intersection with Broadway. Regarding the bus stop relocation, because of that lane closure going towards the south side, we are going to move that bus stop that right now is by the Walgreens, and we're going to move it one block up on Broadway, and we're going to merge it to an existing bus stop. The bus stop relocation place is going to be where the access to the bus to the subway station it is. So it's going to be a seamless transition from the buses to the subway during the duration of the of this relocation, which is going to be between July 2026 and December 2027. The overall schedule, we prepared this table here so you can have a the view of the overall detail. It's going to be a 2-year construction pretty much from the summer of 2026 this year till the spring of 2028. We are shooting for April 2028 to open these both elevators to the public. And the way that we have arranged our construction schedule is in blocks. We're going to work on both sides, the USPS side and the Walgreens concurrently. We're going to work on the street work. That is going to be utility relocation, excavation, foundation, and steel work until we build the framing, and it's going to take us towards mid-2027, end of 2027. And then we're going to work installing all the systems that we need to put these elevators in service inside the new buildings that we're doing with the stairs as well. And then towards the end of 2027, beginning of 2028, we're going to do all the commissioning and testing activities to make sure that the elevators are in good shape before they open safely to the public. Right now, if you go to that intersection, you can see that we are doing surveys, field meetings, some test pits to locate utilities. And in June next month, we're going to start getting the bus stop relocated and the first utility relocations. We're going to start with the gas main relocation. For National Grid is a minor relocation, so we don't anticipate major gas shutdowns, provided that the line is redundant. And we're going to have also to do Verizon relocation and Connet relocations. And we're going to also start putting our barricades and our traffic protection so we can start in July with our excavation. That's going to be the start of the project, but during the duration of the project, we're going to maintain a communication with the community and the businesses and the neighbors in the area. We have Megan, she's the MTA community liaison. You can reach her at her email address. The project has also a project website at mta.info, and we have also a 24/7 project hotline phone number, which is 631-350-0767. That is a telephone number that you can use to report any issues, complaints, concerns that you may have during construction. And again, that's only for this project. I'm going to make sure that all the calls, concerns are properly addressed and monitored, but please don't use it in case of an emergency. All the emergencies should be directed to 911. Very excited to work on this project and deliver these elevators to the neighborhood.
I'll also add that we've already spoken to the businesses out there. We spoke with the Walgreens, let them know about what's going to be going on, the noise, the heavy work, make sure their driveway isn't blocked, and then also what the pedestrian path will look like. And we've also been in touch with the post office as well. So we have let the business folks know out there what we're doing. And I'm very happy to take any questions that you guys have for us.
All right, we will begin with questions from board members, followed by from the public, and I'm going to start a stack. I see a few hands. Felix Ceballos, Virgie Jones, and Annette Spellin, Ben Tucker. Felix, if you don't mind, go up to the mic. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Felix Ceballos, CB4 member. Thank you for the presentation. That is a beautiful news for the community. Like community, we're going to be so happy with that project. And thank you for letting to the community know in advice we're going to be the project and how going to be affected in different area that project, but in the end it's going to be for a good news. My question is, the elevator is going to be available for people be in wheelchair, and also how many people can be in the elevator at the same time? Thank you very much.
So the elevator is completely ADA accessible. So for folks who are in wheelchairs, walkers, strollers, the elevator is designed to be completely ADA accessible. I'll let Carlos speak to the weight of the elevator.
Well, this is New York, so you'll be surprised how many people can fit in an elevator. There is no limitation in terms of people that are available to go. These elevators are limited in size, but they're heavy-duty elevators. They're like more than 2,000 pound of weight elevators. And what we do before we place them in service, we put some heavy weights and we run the elevators for 24 hours non-stop to make sure that they can take all the load. So basically, if you pack the elevators with a lot of people, they're not supposed to get stuck or stopped in any shape or form. To give you an idea, these elevators normally are like a 6x6, 6 feet by 6 feet. And each person normally takes like 1 foot and a half. So you can get like comfortably around 15 people in an elevator. That's my take. But you never know. Sometimes you get with someone that has on a wheelchair. You should have people with the strollers, with bags, especially the guys that have the Walgreens there. They love shopping in Walgreens, and they're going to go with all the bags on the elevator. But they go fast up and down. So even you have to wait for the next one, it shouldn't be a long wait.
Thank you. Go ahead, Virgie.
All right, thank you. So Virgie Jones, Community Board 4. As Mr. Felix said, we thank you for that this is coming to this area. I have 2 questions. The first one is, you all are in charge of when the elevators and the construction are done. correct? For during the presentation. And I just want to know, at other community boards, did you come in person or did you do the same that you're doing for us? Because it was very difficult to hear. And I'm just wondering for my own knowledge. That's my first question.
Scheduling, I usually like to come and do it in person. We went in person to CB3 and then had a virtual meeting for local elected officials. I usually like to come in person, but we just had some scheduling issues.
Oh, okay. So CB4 was the one that, okay, all right. The second question that I have, and like I said, maybe it's me, I wasn't able to hear all of it. With the hours, what hours are you working with this construction? And also tied in line with that, you said that you talked to the Walgreens, but the Walgreens, that parking lot belongs to McDonald's. And then you have a school that's a couple feet away also. So have you spoken to them? Did you speak to the principal? You spoke to the managers? Or if you could just enlighten us a little bit on that. So the hours that the work will be done, would it be 7 days a week?
Carlos, do you want to talk about the work hours?
Yeah, for the work hours, we work normally 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have regulations that don't allow us to make noise after hours to make sure that the neighbors can have their rest. And we're going to have some weekend work, but the weekend work is going to be minimal and is going to be exceptional when we have to work on the trucks.
Okay.
So normally you're going to have Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay. All right. And you spoke to the manager at Walgreens, and you spoke to the manager at...
I spoke to the manager at the Walgreens, and then I spoke with the manager at the post office. And what we wanted to let them know is that they have a driveway where the bus stop is over there, and there will be what we call an MPT, which is where the big blue walls go up, and that we wouldn't be interfering with their driveway where they receive deliveries, not the McDonald's drive-through, but that also will not be interfered with.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Annette Spelling, Community Board 4. I want to thank you for preparing us for this, telling us about this early. But the one thing you seem to have omitted is what is going to happen to the train station? What is going to happen to the people who have to take that train daily to go to and from work, the J train? That's a very busy station there, and you haven't mentioned anything about that.
So for the most part, the station will be operable. We aren't, envisioning long. The station will be open for, the majority of the work. There will be some instances where the station might be closed for, weeknights, weekends, weekdays, but I send out those notices. I try to do it 2 weeks in advance and get them out to the electeds and get them out to the community board so they can share with everyone. There could be some bypasses, there could be some temporary closures, but, this is not a complete shutdown of the station. The station will still be usable and be in the community.
Go Knicks, baby.
Hey, good evening. Ben Tucker. I'm a board member and chair of Transportation Committee. You did mention doing outreach to the businesses about the construction. I'm curious what kind of signage and outreach is being done to the residents on gates, and also just permanent signage to let folks who are pedestrians along Broadway and on the Gates Avenue sides know about the ongoing construction. Because during the lead abatement project that's going now on Myrtle, I don't really see any signs at all, and I think most folks do not know when it's coming to the stretch of their block, for instance. So what kind of outreach are you doing for the residents? Thanks.
Yeah, so definitely keeping, in touch with the community board and with the local elected officials so they can get notices out to the residents. We also can issue if notices like there needs to be something that happens in the immediate community and those residences will be affected. We can do notices, we can do flyers, but that's why we're here at the community board to let residents know what's happening. For signage at the work site, I could let Carlos talk a little bit about what kind of signage they have to have, and folks will definitely, be hearing a lot from me throughout this process.
Yeah, for signage, there is two types. There are signage that provides information about the project itself, and we're going to have information about when the project starts, when it's going to last, and what it entail. That's information. And there are some signage that deals with directing people or where to go and how to navigate the area. We're going to put signs where we put the temporary crossings, or we're going to put signs alerting people that there is an active construction zones and the precautions that are being taken around them. So, and we're going to be fully enclosed within ourselves. So there's always going to be a barrier between the construction and the public around us.
Okay, thank you. And then last, the signs in English and Spanish?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Naima Hawk, CB4 member. I have a question regarding the hours. As mentioned before, currently I take the J to work, and the J on the Manhattan side shuts down around like 9 a.m., which is really inconvenient, but I was wondering if this elevator work is going to be on top of that shutdown, or like will it alter it in any way?
So there could be, some, we call them GOs, general orders, where that affect the train time or the station time. There wouldn't be no trains at all. You would have the option to back ride the train, but like I mentioned, it would be something that would be noticed, and I would send those notices out.
Yeah, normally when you have the train already stopped, the MTA tell us, and we take advantage of the fact that the train is stopped to do work. So as the elevator project is not going to add more outages to those that you have already been experiencing necessarily.
Okay, thank you.
And I think Kana will also add to that if she could just be made a panelist.
Camacho, CB4 Chair. Is there going to be a number posted on a location for any emergency issues that may occur, or someone that may have an issue in regards to complaints or any noise? And another question that I have that's very important is that you gave us this map. Is there a walkthrough, or why didn't you tell us a walkthrough so we can familiarize ourselves with the area? Because on the other side is Best Tie. Are you going to let them know that it's, which is CB3, what's going on, houses and areas and people there that would know and have issues there? So is there going to be a sign with a number that works, not a email that people got to call? And are you guys willing to do, before you even start, a walkthrough so we could familiarize ourselves with what is it you're doing and how is it you're going to do it?
Yeah, so CB3 has been notified. We went to their transportation committee and notified them with the same same presentation. On the last slide of the presentation, there is a number for folks to call. So it's what we call non-emergency line. So folks can send complaints, questions. They're welcome to call that. Obviously for any emergency, life-threatening emergency, we ask folks to call 911. And I will send around again a copy of the presentation so you have that info, and I can also send the number separately. And I'm happy to organize a walkthrough if the board is interested in that.
Okay, and I'm talking about a posted sign.
Right.
So when someone goes by, if there's an issue, a big sign with a number, call if there's any complaints or issues, like PD put, when there's a problem, they put out there, call this number, and are y'all gonna post something up there? Because they're not gonna walk around with this sheet of paper.
Yeah, absolutely. The phone number is going to be posted in different locations on the work site. Because,
Thank you.
you know, you don't have to memorize it on your phone. It's going to be right there.
Okay.
Great. Any other, please come up to the mic.
Hello, Alan Gamboa, Community Board 4 member. Thank you for the presentation. I have a few questions. I happen to live on the block of Linden that's going to be the rerouted traffic. So first of all, when the new station is completed, is the old station going to continue to be in use, or is it i.e. there's going to be two stations at that time, or are they going to shut that station down and have everyone going in and out of the new station? That's the quick question. Did you want to answer that?
Yeah, so the platform...
this is not a new station. This is just an access. So right now you have an existing access. When we put the elevators, you're going to have the two elevators, the two new stairs, and you're still going to be able to use the existing access.
So there'll be 4 access points.
Correcto.
Okay, great. So as for the rerouting of traffic, including bus traffic, that intersection of Broadway and Linden Street, it doesn't even have a stop sign. So it's like, is that going to be like rerouted and changed? Because that's like a lot of left turns across traffic. And I was wondering if you had any data that you could share about the volume of traffic that is passed through there. And one last very specific question. We have a block party planned for late August, and because it's a bus route now, will that still be able to happen, or do we have to change our plans? Thank you.
For the block party, you should definitely speak with SAPO. We do not issue those permits, so you should speak with them.
Yeah, regarding the traffic study, we are coordinated with DOT, OCMC, and the DOT land use, and make sure that the extra traffic that we are diverting is accounted for. They may change the duration of the lights to make sure that the extra traffic flows accordingly.
There's no light or even stop sign at that intersection at present.
Yeah, they're looking into that. Before we do the reroute, they're gonna make those checks to make sure that it's safe to put more cars over those intersections.
And do you have any idea about the volume of traffic that should be expected to go through there?
No, like you're expecting for a number like the number of vehicles per hour.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
No, I don't have the number with me, but I can give you the data through Megan. If you want. We can provide that information later on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, Esteban Duran, Community Board 4 member, no appointee. Thank you for a great presentation. It's great to see that that stop, Gates Avenue, is going to get this elevator. It's important and long overdue in Bushwick and the community in Bed-Stuy. And also that it's going to be going straight to the platform. That's great to avoid those double usage of elevators for those who need accessibility. I do have some questions in regards to, there are 3 questions. 2 of them are in regards to budgeting, and 1 is in regarding to also traffic and bus impact. So I'll start with the budgeting one. Do you have a total cost for the project? And also, will the contractor ensure that if there are any cost overruns, that they will bear the cost, or will that also be something that the city will be paying?
So first of all, the city wouldn't be paying anything. This is a state-funded project, but Carlos, maybe you can give him some background on just what contingency is to answer his question about costs.
Yeah, well, this is, I don't know if you're familiar, this is a type of project that includes design and construction. That means that we as contractor, we're also designers. So we need to make sure that the drawings are accurate, and that reduces a lot the chances of the project to go late and to go over budget. Sometimes there are like things that no one could expect. Like, for example, you're excavating and you encounter something that no one expected, and then there might be a delay. But what we do test pits, and we make sure that we know what's going on to mitigate any delays and cost overruns.
So what was the total cost? Do you have a projected cost or ballpark figure?
I guess that's a question for the MTA.
Yeah, we can get that to you.
Yeah,
We have the total package cost, but we would have to break it down into station.
Okay, that would be helpful because unfortunately the MTA, which does get a lot of funding from New York City, because that's where the bulk of the riders come from, you have a bad track record when it comes to cost overruns. So very important to get us that information. So thank you. My third question is regarding bus impact. So that intersection is very busy, like several of my board members here have said. Specifically, the B52 bus is an important bus route. It connects a lot of residents from Ridgewood and from Bushwick and Bed-Stuy going to downtown Brooklyn and back and forth. Will the B52 be impacted? And specifically, I think you mentioned something about a bus stopping on the corner of Quincy and Broadway. Is that where the B52 will be rerouted when it's going back east? And will the bus be be impacted when it's going west? Because I know there's a pedestrian. You mentioned a pedestrian area that's being put right there, and I know a lot of folks get off the train and get on the B52 going to downtown when it's going west. So if you're moving that bus stop, I just want to know how will it impact both routes, going east and going west? Thank you.
So the westbound bus traffic is not going to be impacted, so zero impact. The bus traffic for the B52 going eastbound, that is going to be impacted by the bus stop relocation, but the service is going to be running throughout the entirety of the project.
Christian Celeste Tate, first Vice Chair of Community Board 4. So first I just want to reiterate the thanks and the excitement around both the presentation and the project itself. This is really important for our community. But I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit more about how stations are prioritized for ADA compliance. Our community has expressed for a long time, longer than I've been on this board, an ask that DeKalb L station be prioritized for ADA accessibility because it is the station that services our community's only hospital, and yet that advocacy seems to have fallen largely on deaf ears. So I'm wondering if you can share more about how stations are prioritized and if there is a different way that we need to be advocating in order for that feedback to be heard. Thank you.
Yeah, I can take this one. So there's a number of different criteria that we use. Number one, constructability, cost, and then we do also consider, equity, demographics, things of that nature. That's on our website. I'd recommend that you read the accessibility page, but it is also very likely that this is being considered for other packages. So I'm happy to go back and, with our chief engineer at MTA Construction and Development and see about any plans in the future for the DeKalb on the L. I'll also say that this is, MTA has dedicated over $7.2 billion in this current capital program. We're really just getting started here. We started doing design build packages. I think Megan may have touched on that earlier, but this is a way that the MTA can both design and build at the same time. It's sort of, it's an easier and more cost-effective way of building these ADA stations. If we run into a problem, if there's an unforeseen condition under the street that was not mapped, we don't have to go literally and figuratively back to the drawing board. We can, build the plane and fly it at the same time, so to speak. So this is a new project management tool that we've been rolling out. So that's why we've been able to pump out these packages and award them as quickly as we can. So, it might not be in construction now, but we are on track, well on track to meet our goal of 98% of accessible stations by 2055. So all that being said, happy to follow up with you about the DeKalb station on the L.
Some questions on Zoom. Go ahead, Courtney.
Hi there. Yes, it's Courtney, Community Board 4. I missed the projected time period for this to be completed.
Yeah, so we'll be starting next month and projecting to be completed Q2 2028.
Oh, so people will be disrupted for that long with the train
It's heavy
service?
work. We got to get the elevators in. It is heavy work and there is some disruption, but we want to
Because
make
that's what,
this
like 8 months or something?
How's that?
How many months is that? That's a long time for 2 elevators.
It's about the amount of time it takes for these types of projects. So, it's a little under 2 years.
I'll just make a note
Wow.
about the timeline too, just really quickly. And again, to reintroduce myself, I'm Connor Irvin. I'm from MTA Construction and Development. So in the presentation and the beginning of the project, a lot of the work that has to happen is actually the private utilities that need to be relocated in order for us to put this new infrastructure in the ground. So it is a long process, but it is not solely the building of the actual elevator. In fact, the cost of the elevator itself is a very small fraction of the entire construction budget. Just to speak a little bit more about, the station impacts. So I want to be clear that for almost the entire project, the station will be open. We consider the station to be open if one direction is out because it allows passengers to just back ride to the next station and then continue on their journey. This is not going to, I just want to make sure everyone knows this is not going to mean, you can't get to work. There's like a shutdown of the station. That's not what we're doing. So the construction is going to be on the street, again, like relocating these utilities underground. And then, the more interesting things you'll see later in the process, erecting the big steel foundation, adding the elevator cab, adding the glass, that sort of work. But again, the vast, vast, vast majority, if not all of that time, the station will remain open.
All right, we thank everyone. We're going to wrap up this public hearing item. Before we do so, I'm going to summarize some of the follow-up that the MTA has offered to provide. So we for traffic, like this traffic study and the volume of traffic that came from Alan. So Carlos is going to speak to Megan about this so they can get that to the board. And then also the MTA has to break down the package for the cost of the project. So I imagine that's Kana and Megan. And then the last one is just a conversation that Kana mentioned with the chief engineer to talk about the capital program to see if DeKalb Avenue Station is going to be included. Does that sound good to everyone here? Okay. We thank you for being here in the presentation.
I appreciate it. Talk soon.
Thank you.
There was a round of applause in case folks on Zoom didn't hear. All right. We will move forward now with our second public hearing item. We have representatives from NYC Health and Hospitals, Woodhull. I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Welcome. Yes, please. May need to adjust them. It has to be shared directly. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk. My name is Edward Lee. I'm the stroke director at Woodhull, and it's Stroke Awareness Month, so that's why we're here. We wanted to raise some awareness about that. Just a little bit of background about myself. I'm mostly a fake New Yorker. I grew up in Jersey, but I've been here since 2020. I did my training at Columbia as well as NYU and Bellevue for my subspecialty stroke training, and I joined Woodhull last year. I wanted to, just get right into it. So, when we talk about a stroke, I think sometimes there's confusion about what exactly a stroke is. The phrase I sometimes like to use is the word brain attack. Just like how you can have a heart attack, you can have an attack affecting your brain. And there's two main kinds, but both are essentially a problem with the blood flow and the arteries going to your brain. So either the artery could be blocked off by like a blood clot, causing that part of the brain to not get any blood flow, or an artery could kind of rupture and cause bleeding to the brain. Now both of these essentially cause parts of the brain to die and can lead to permanent disability. Stroke is very, very common, actually. In the U.S., there's about 10 million people who have had a stroke, which is about 3%. If you only include adults who are over the age of 60, that number actually jumps up to closer to 7% as well. Now, this number is also important to take within context as well. I'm not sure if everyone is able to access our map of New York that I put up, but there's variations even within New York City with how common stroke is in different regions. And I'll say that there's certain hotspots where the stroke rates can be higher, and one of those hotspots also includes our local area here in Brooklyn. Perfect, right there. So if you look at the map of New York City, the warmer colors represent higher rates of stroke. And if you kind of zoom in, actually on the next slide, I have a little more of a zoomed in picture. you'll see that a lot of these warmer, colors are actually kind of in our neighborhood here. Now, how can we prevent stroke in the first place? Because prevention is really the most important thing. There's a couple, there's a lot of different factors, but these include maintaining a healthy diet, healthy sleep, exercising, not smoking, following up with a primary care doctor regularly. And people have done actually economic studies on this, and for every $1 you invest in trying to prevent a stroke, you actually get $10 in returns in terms of saved healthcare costs, saved productivity for preventing working adult from being able to work. So really prevention is the most important thing. But obviously sometimes we can't prevent that. So how can we treat a stroke once it happens? One of the most important treatments we have for stroke is basically clot busting medications. Other fancy word for them includes thrombolytic, but really the way I think about it is almost like Drano, where you give a medication into somebody's IV and it goes in and kind of tries to break up the blood clot that could be causing somebody's stroke. The really important thing with this medication, though, is that there's a time limit. And not only is there a time limit, but the faster you do it, the more brain you're going to save. I put some numbers up here, but every minute that a stroke is happening, people have estimated that about 2 million neurons in your brain are dying. And the time limit for this medication is also about 4.5 hours, because the later you give it, the less benefit you have, and the more risk of complications you get as well, too. Now, our experience at Woodhull, since August until now, we've had about 10 to 15 patients per month who have been admitted with stroke. The number of patients who have received this medication is about 10 to 15, which means only about 10% of patients are receiving this medication. And now the obvious question is, why only 10%? And if we look at our numbers, about 70% of people are actually arriving to the hospital too late. So there's this really, really important need for raising awareness about how to recognize a stroke and understanding that it's very, very important that you come to the hospital right away, call 911 right away. And I'll say that these basic signs of what are stroke symptoms and how important it is to call 911 is kind of what we think about as recommended stroke knowledge that everyone should really know about. And if you actually look at U.S. adults and how many people know about this, it's only about 2/3 of people know this really critical information. On top of that, when you break that down by ethnicity, for Hispanic patients, it's actually closer to 58%, so even lower. Now, this is kind of leading up to this crux of what I wanted to discuss, which is our mnemonic. We also have it on our flyers, but the mnemonic that we like to teach is be fast. And each of these letters stands for something different. B stands for balance. E stands for eyes, meaning sudden vision changes. That could be like double vision, not being able to see one part of your vision. F stands for face, so one side of someone's face drooping. A stands for arm and leg weakness. S stands for any changes in speech. And T stands for time to call 911. So if any of these symptoms happens all of a sudden, and stroke is really, it happens out of the blue. There's not really any warning sign. You're fine 1 second, and then all of a sudden, 1 second later, you're not okay. So just wanted to really, actually I have a little, if you go all the way to the end, I cut out what it actually stands for, because I want to give everyone a quiz, because I know everyone loves quizzes, I heard. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Should I call on? I won't be mean. So just want to review. So B, what does B stand for? Balance, perfect. E stands for? Perfect. F stands for? A stands for? Arm/leg also. The mnemonic doesn't work as good for that part. S stands for? Speech, perfect. And then T stands for? Perfect. Time to call 911 as soon as possible. Everyone did perfectly. All right. I also want to talk very, very briefly about, Woodhull. We're a primary stroke center, and we're, certified to treat stroke patients with this thrombolytic medication. I'm also really proud of the advancements we've made over the last year in terms of our acute stroke care. We're identifying more patients who need to receive this medication, and not only that, we're also getting the medication to patients faster as well too. If you come to our hospital, we're going to get that medication to you within 1 hour. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk, and please spread this to your loved ones. We also have flyers that have the BFAST mnemonic on it, and little handout cards as well as flyers available in Spanish. Thank you so much.
Do we want to wait till we get to both presentations? We can go to questions? What do folks want to do? Wait? Okay, so we can go to the next presentation. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. My name's Eva Sanders. I'm the Associate Executive Director for Behavioral Health Services at Woodhull Hospital. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training. I am a fake New Yorker. Also grew up, born and raised in Chicago in the time of Michael Jordan, but I have 2 children who believe that Jalen Brunson is definitely the more famous one. So sorry, I must be looking over here. Okay, great. And actually, my first job out of social work school was actually at an older adult center, so it feels like home, so thank you for having us. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about mental health awareness. I just have a quick question. Are the slides going to be shared with the... Because if so, then I don't need to go through every... Okay, awesome, great. So this is much more interactive than I had originally planned, so just by a quick show of hands, who has ever felt really happy? Yeah, good. Who's ever felt really sad? Who's ever felt really nervous? Who's ever felt really confused? Yes, all of us. Who enjoys spending time with friends and family? And who can sometimes not enjoy spending time with friends and family? Yes. So the good news is, you're all human. All of these thoughts and feelings are a part of the common human experience. And when we're talking about mental health, there is a wide range within which for all of those things to exist and to coexist. Sometimes they switch throughout the day. And so when we're talking about mental illness, we're really talking about illnesses that affect our thinking, our feelings, and behavior outside the range of what is common. So some folks might stay low too long. Some folks might stay elated for too long, or cycle rapidly, or feel confused. And so National Alliance for Mental Illness, which is actually a family-started, consumer-driven organization, defines mental illness as illnesses that influence thinking, feeling, and behavior that get in the way of us coping with the ordinary demands of everyday life. Right? And so it's really something that we're working very hard in mental health to not pathologize so much and to stigmatize. It's something that many people go through, and the good news is there's help. I'm going to skip over a couple of slides just to give you a quick range. Maybe we can go to slide 5, because I want to give you a sense of the range of services. Not necessarily, yeah, there we go, this one, good. So the important thing to know here is that we have a range of services, right? We have services for routine outpatient services. We have them for adults, children, adolescents. We offer our services on the 5th floor of our hospital. We also offer our services where the services are needed. We meet people where they're at. So we have social workers embedded in 5 local schools, and I think we're going to be doing one more soon. It's called our Continuum Programming, working with children and adolescents who are in school, right, providing the services on site. Another interactive piece. Who has ever known anyone who needed some mental health help but was nervous to ask for it, or has been that person? It's also very common for people to get numbers. I will put myself in this category, get the number of a therapist and wait 6 months to call. It's an extra effort, right? And so not only are the services that you can come, but we want to come to where you are. So we also have, in addition to all of these routine outpatient services, we have crisis services. right? So we have an inpatient unit, we have a psychiatric emergency room, we also have a community-based mobile crisis team, which will go out into communities and evaluate folks to see if they can deliver services on site in the moment, and not necessarily an emergency that requires someone to go to the hospital in an ambulance, but someone who can be treated in their home and then linked to services so they can continue to recover in the community. I think one of the key things to understand is that there's a lot of different things that make us feel better, right? So if you think of things that have made you feel better, if anyone is brave enough to share, what are some things that make you feel better when you're feeling low? Pardon? Have some chocolate. Yes, this is science. I mean, yeah.
Going for a walk.
Going for a walk. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Shopping.
Community Board 4 meetings, I can tell you it's definitely lifted my mood for sure.
Pets.
Yeah. Wait, what was the other one? Oh, shopping. I thought I heard someone say pets too. Pets, yes, absolutely. Yeah, and we actually, one of the cool things that we have, we're starting pet therapy in one of our programs, but we also offer it for our staff to keep our staff healthy, right? So our services offer sort of both the traditional and the non-traditional services. So yes, our services offer medications that works for some people. We also offer talk therapies for individuals, group therapy for families, however one defines family. And in some of our programs, we also offer wraparound services. What does that mean? That means services that aren't necessarily considered treatment, but that make us achieve our goals and help us sort of meet the demands of everyday life. So it is rarely the case that when someone comes in and we ask what their goals are, that they say to us, I want to be a really obedient patient, and I want to do what you're telling me. What they say is, I want to get a job. I want to be able to go back to work. I want to reestablish contact with my family. I want to get married. There's all sorts of things. And there are vocational and educational services that we also offer to help people meet those goals, because that's also a part of wellness and helps people get engaged in a hopeful manner. If we just want to skip to the 2 slides ahead, where it says recovery oriented. And there's a couple of sort of key principles, and then I'm going to pause because I know you have a big night and I'll take questions. There are some principles that we adhere to, right? The first is that we are recovery-oriented services. What does that mean? What it means is that people can and do recover from mental illness and substance use disorders. It's possible. And that's not how we have traditionally thought of it, and it's certainly not what stigma tells us to believe, right? But people can and do recover from mental health disorders and from substance use disorders. It's person-centered. Right? That's part of what we were just talking about, asking someone what matters to you, right? No one really wants to go to therapy and just be lectured on how they should be or what they should do. They want to lead with what matters to them. And so that's really what one of our driving forces is. The other key piece is that our services are trauma-informed. What that means is, instead of the old rubric of what's wrong with you, the question is, what happened to you? And what can we do to help sort of reset the course? What services can we offer? And what are your own internal strengths, right? It's a strengths-based thing, so it's not just about someone being the passive recipient of services, but actively engaged in achieving their goals in their own mental health. I think one of the other things, I talked about how we're meeting people where they're at, which is a core principle of social work as well. The other thing that we're doing is meeting people in partnership, right? We're coming here, we want to be a part of the community, we want to answer questions. We're also offering services throughout our hospital. So while the behavioral health department is on the 5th floor, we have services offered in our OBGYN service, right? Perinatal mental health. We are creating services that sort of go outside the traditional boundaries. So historically, there are children and adolescent services, and then there are adult services. We opened a clinic that now works with people in transition from ages 16 to 25. And then we're also working with our community, opening up a program that we'll tell you more about, but when it comes close to opening in September, if you invite us back. But we are going to be opening a program called Bridge to Home, which is a hotel where we are going to have patients who have been discharged from the hospital be able to stay for up to 12 months in a home-like environment, and we will have our clinic on site and offer our services there. We have a Pride clinic. We provide mental health services there. So in pretty much anywhere you'll go for services in Woodhull, someone's going to be doing a mental health screening of some sort as well, because it's that important. So I'm going to pause because I can go on, and I just want to thank you for your time. And if anyone would like to just share one more technique that you use to kind of reset the battery. What? Journaling, yes, great, thank you. Thank you all so much.
Felix Ceballo again. When we talking about the prevents for a stroke, it's easy to say, go to do exercise, try to eat the better you can, but that's easy. But right now in our community, for you go to the gym, for example, you have to pay, and it's expensive. And also, when we're talking about diet, food, a lot of company, because it's better for them make business, they don't provide us a good food. But at the same time, I think the city had to help the community, because a lot of company, because they make business, they just give us food. It's not good for what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about a stroke, but we're talking about stroke when everything is happening. But for prevents, it's so expensive. And another thing, our community need you more often here. We have 2 hospitals around, Waco Hospital and Woodhull Hospital. When people, they don't know, they don't have information, they eat whatever they can eat. So when we have all that information, at least we can take care better ourselves. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you all so much for presenting. My name is Zach Hendrickson. I'm Community Board 4 member, and I'm part of our Health and Human Services Committee as well. I have a couple of questions. I'll try to move quickly. My first question is for Dr. Lee. I'm really struck by the 58% stat that you showed about the Hispanic folks in our community. I myself am Mexican. A lot of people here in this room have Hispanic backgrounds, and I'm wondering how much of that is simply, I mean, even the slides you shared, right? Like Be Fast is an English acronym. And I know there are a couple other Spanish versions. There's Rapido, there's Ahora, and I'm wondering, like, as we pass out these materials, like, how often are those things in use at Woodhull? And if not, can we make them more readily apparent? Can that be, like, the forefront of some of our community outreach?
I definitely think that.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You got it?
Oh, cool. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, I think you really touched on something important, and I think there's a lot of, and I think it's kind of, touches also on what you mentioned, that there's a lot of, we only think about medicine sometimes in the hospital, but there's a lot of factors, like societal factors, that also influence health. And we also do have flyers that have the Rapido mnemonic on there. And anytime somebody comes into the hospital with a stroke, one of our main focuses is actually on educating the patient and their family on not only what in general causes stroke, but what specifically for that patient, what exactly caused their stroke. And because strokes can be caused by different things and might be different things for different people. So I think that I definitely think that not having all the same resources available in Spanish sometimes is definitely a factor. And I think there's other societal factors, like you mentioned too, that influence some of these variations. And I'll say that at least at Woodhull, and I'm sure other hospitals too. Anytime somebody comes with a stroke, that's really one of our main focus. Why did they have a stroke, and how can we prevent it?
I'd also like to respond as the Director of Community Affairs. We do translate our documents. So, and then that we do give out in multiple languages, depending on the areas, because we're in charge of Bushwick, Williamsburg, Bed-Stuy, and Greenpoint. So every one of those areas focuses on different, different types of community. So we do get the stuff translated, and I could send it to Community Board 4.
Thank you. That was going to be my follow-up.
Yes, so we'll send it once I have it, I'll send it.
Great. I do have two more questions. Sorry, everybody, bear with me. These two are for Director Sanders. Thank you so much for the information. My first question is actually about one of the slides that we skipped over. I noticed in the substance use recovery, volume growth across program, it's a really wild jump from 2024 to 2025 that doesn't seem reflective of any of the other programs. For everybody who's maybe, since we skipped it, the total number of folks in substance use recovery through Woodhull were 3,436 in 2024, and in 2025 it jumps to 14,395, which is a massive increase even compared to the other programs that we see. So I'm curious if you could just speak a little bit to what you're seeing and why that is from your perspective.
Sure, yeah. So I joined Woodhull 7 months ago, and I think on a very basic level, we've been very focused, and Woodhull, most certainly prior to my joining as well, was focused on improving and creating more access to our mental health and substance use recovery services. What that means, just on a very fundamental level, is in the last year and a half, we've hired over 250 staff, literally by bringing in more clinicians who can do more of the work. We also had a really concerted effort with our substance use recovery services in terms of making sure that, looking at how many people were being seen a day, and are there ways that we can have someone see more people a day without completely overwhelming the staff as well. And we've been very successful in that. It's been a really concerted effort. And I think one other thing is just trying to bring in the right complement of staff as well.
Awesome. So just to clarify, to confirm, is it fair to say that then this jump that we're seeing in the number of patients treated, this is actually, we could classify this as a positive. It's not necessarily there's that many more people in our neighborhood who are now suddenly going through substance abuse. It's that the hospital is actually treating that many more people who otherwise weren't being treated.
Yes.
Is that fair? Great. Awesome.
Yes.
That's great to hear. I'm glad I asked. And the last question, sorry everybody, is about Bridge to Home. I'm curious how many units are going to be there. And then just for my fellow community board members, I just want to add some personal perspective. I have history engaging and working with folks who are in inpatient psychiatric facilities, and others in this room as well. And one thing that's always stuck with me is a young woman that I met in the hospital one time who was there pregnant. She was 18 years old. And I remember having this conversation with her, and she's like, look, all of this stuff in here is great. I'm in here because my parents threw me out of the house. And nothing that I do in here is going to change the fact that when I leave, I don't have a home to go back to. And so I'm really glad to hear that Bridge to Home is opening up. And I just want to put that in context for us as we think about, some of the circumstances that people end up inpatient for extended periods of time. And that this supportive housing is really a critical component of that. So if you could just share that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, there are going to be 47 units, and the eligibility is adults with who have serious mental illness and who are experiencing homelessness. This is actually a build off of Bellevue Hospital in Manhattan, launched one in September, and so this is the second site. Theirs is serving males at this time. Ours will be all gender.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi, I'm John Stanesco. I'm a brand new CB4 member, and I just had a question about stroke awareness, and pardon me if you covered this, but I missed it, but how much is age an indicator of something being a stroke? Can it affect children or young adults?
Yeah, I'll say there's definitely a correlation, but to me to me, really, age is a number. So, you can be a younger person who has a lot of the medical issues that I kind of refer to, like high cholesterol, they smoke, or sometimes it's just bad luck too. But, there's a correlation. Older patients, are more likely to have a stroke. But, again, to me, an 80-year-old who is healthy, exercising, eating a healthy diet, which, again, not as it's easy for me to say that, obviously. But there's a correlation, but, to me, it's really not an end-all be-all for anything. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, all. My question is I'm Christopher Graham, CB4 Community Board Member. My question is for Dr. Lee. Perhaps I missed it. What is the name of the medication, and is that medication specifically used at Woodhull, or is that something that's widespread throughout the hospitals?
Yeah, so the medication that we use at Woodhull, and that's kind of standard across the country now, is called tenecteplase. The other acronym for it is TNK. So you might hear people say TNK. Several years ago, it used to be a different medication called alteplase or TPA, but there's certain advantages to TNK, so we've all sort of switched over to that. And I'll say that that's kind of becoming standard across the country, and that's the medication we use at Woodhull.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Cirilo Nunez, Community Board 4. My question is, when someone is experiencing a stroke, obviously if you're going through all these symptoms, it's a stroke. But can it be a stroke with one symptom, two symptom, or three? And obviously if we go through all the symptoms and we get to speech, we know we better hurry and call 911. But are there any other sure signs, right, after one symptom or two symptoms, where I say, oh, I better call 911?
I'm so glad you asked that, because that means that I communicated that not well. Even just one of these symptoms can be a sign of stroke. So if you're okay one moment, and then minutes later, all of a sudden, out of the blue, you get even just one of these symptoms, that can be a stroke. So if I just get all of a sudden, I can't balance and I can't walk, that can be a stroke. Call 911.
Right, but I can feel like, oh, I'm a little dizzy. Maybe I've been stressed out, but now I see two symptoms. Now I know for sure I better hurry and call 911.
Yeah, I'll say even just one, I would say is enough. Like if you all of a sudden, boom, you cannot see half of your vision, or boom, all of a sudden you get double vision, just call 911. You don't need to wait for two, you don't need to wait for one. And also say that a very common story I hear is that someone will tell me, oh, I woke up and my left side was just feeling funny, and my left face was like kind of feeling funny. But I just thought maybe I slept on it weird. I didn't make much of it. The next day they still have it, and they come to the hospital. And by that time, already too late. So I think really you touched on a couple of really important points, and I think even just one of these, all of us, you're fine 1 second, and then all of a sudden you're not, and you have one of these symptoms, you don't need to wait for more than one. Just call 911. And I think, again, I just want to emphasize that just don't dismiss it. Yeah, and maybe it's a loved one, maybe it's you, but I think just don't be one of those people who thinks it's probably nothing, sleeps on it, and the next day it's still there. It's too late.
Great. I want to thank you all for coming by.
Yeah. And Mr. Rocha, just remind me, just one more time, that time limit really is 4.5 hours from when you were last known to be normal. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Crystal Vargas. I'm a new CB4 member. I want to say thank you for your presentation. You showed a very beautiful heat map, and you mentioned that our area is one of the highest on that heat map. What do you feel is one of the major contributing factors why we are so high, why our number is up when it comes to strokes? As well as you mentioned the drug that you use. You did state a low percentage of how it's given to patients. Does that have to do with accessibility, or is that just due to time limit of when the patient gets there?
Yeah, two really good questions. Regarding the heat map, I think that there's a lot of factors there, honestly. And this is kind of getting to more of my personal views and not representing Woodhull specifically, but a lot of health issues, not just stroke, are really tightly correlated to socioeconomic factors, including wealth inequity, and things like accessibility to healthy food deserts. That's really important. There's also historical factors. if you look at, New York City's history of like district redlining, for example, and you actually correlate that to that heat map, honestly, there's a lot of matching there too. And so I think it's a mix of historical, socioeconomic factors that really play into this. And, I think sometimes people also mention that stroke rates are higher in Black patients or Hispanic patients. And, that's true to the extent that there's a correlation with some of these factors I mentioned. But if you actually control for these factors, there's actually not any difference. So, from my perspective, I really think it's a lot of these factors I mentioned. Regarding the Tenecta Place, that is not an accessibility issue from my view, because if you call 911, you come to our hospital, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. We're giving you the same care regardless. I really think that the issue, really with the numbers that I mentioned, that the vast majority of patients are not getting this medication because they got here too late. So to me, at least, that's the way I view our numbers there. And I'll say that that number is not too different from what other hospitals across the country experience as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Courtney on Zoom.
Oh, hey, Courtney Henley, Community Board 4. I just want to weigh in with what Felix said earlier. We do need to, as well, talk about preventative. I wonder if the hospital is thinking about doing, it would be great to do like a health fair where you talk about stress, and maybe we could partner with Farm to People or someone to give people boxes of healthy food on that day as well. I also wanted to ask the doctor about disparities between women, because I know with heart attacks, a lot of times women's heart attacks are missed. Is there any difference in women's symptoms for strokes?
Yeah, so, such a good questions, I feel like, for everybody. Regarding your first question, we actually had a nursing community fair at our hospital just last week. And, part of our reason why we want to come here and talk is also because we're trying to make some of these, outreach efforts. I think regarding what you said about, prevention, I did want to shout out some of our primary care doctors, because, they just actually recently gave us a presentation on how much amazing work they've done with lowering blood pressure across the community and their patients. And I mean, I was really blown away. And I think that we're really trying to, make efforts for prevention as well. I think we do have some limitations in how much, obviously we can do in terms of, having food available and, things like that. But we are definitely trying to make efforts there. Regarding, gender disparities, I think that, so regarding stroke symptoms, I wouldn't say that they vary too much between women and men, and I don't think there's a huge gender disparity there. But, I will say to your point that historically, I hate to say this, but sometimes women and not just women, people of color, they present to the hospital with the stroke symptoms, and they might not be taken as seriously. Which being a human being, I constantly have to try to work against my own biases, and that's something I'm hyper acutely aware of. But I will say that you do touch on something that's very relevant regarding stroke care.
Thank you so much. My mother was killed because of the disparity in heart. They told her she had a cold and she was having a heart attack.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Courtney. And we're going to wrap up with just one more comment. Zuma? You're muted.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I apologize. Zenavo at Community Board 4. First of all, thank you. Wonderful, outstanding presentation. And I know that was just touched about when it comes to the care. My point is, if someone does have a stroke and they themselves go to the ER, how quickly would the ER take that individual compared when there's someone has an asthma attack or have chest pain, which those two are so critical? And since time is essential, do you have a triage that includes strokes with as part of those two other emergencies that many hospitals do?
Absolutely. So you don't have to get too into the logistics, but anytime a patient comes to the hospital via EMS and there's a concern for stroke, they notify us immediately, if not even before the patient arrives at our hospital, and that immediately activates a huge team of people to actually respond. So that includes the emergency department physicians, that includes the neurology team, which includes me. It includes our radiologist, because part of the urgent diagnosis is getting a CT scan as soon as possible. It also includes our nursing, and it also includes our laboratory to also run lab tests as soon as possible as well. So really there is a process to respond to a patient who are concerned for stroke as soon as possible. Absolutely.
Thank you, but I was trying to say if someone walks into the ER with
yes.
that they have a
So
stroke.
if you walk into the ER and you tell the triage person, I'm having weakness on one side of my body, or I can't see out of one side of my, that also will automatically trigger stroke code activation, which is that same kind of emergency response system that we mentioned, that I mentioned before.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our second public hearing item. We thank you to Woodhull for being here. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, and we will move on now. It is 7:30 on the dot. Thank you, Mr. Camacho. And we will go right into the regular meeting agenda, starting with the first roll call. Board members that have not signed in, the sign-in sheet is up front, so once I finish with the roll call, please come and sign. Isa Abni. Paula Amanzar. George Benjamin. Got it. Deborah Hicks. Lateef Bunting. Robert Camacho. Present. Felix Ceballos. Present. Andrew Choi.
Present.
Got you. Kimberly, how do I say your last name? Kolkloff? Okay, not here. I will ask another time. Esteban Duran.
Present.
Alan Gamboa.
Present.
Jason Gares.
Present.
Christopher Graham.
Present.
Thomas Green is excused. Ann Guiney.
Present.
Naima Hawk. How do I say your last name? Got it. Okay, great. Just making sure. Zachary Hendrickson.
Present.
Courtney Henley is excused. Barbara Jackson is absent. Inform the district office. Virgie Jones.
Present.
Tara Jones Thomas. Got you. Luisa Jose. Giovanni Justiniano.
Present.
Got you. Red Kadeski.
Here.
Nancy Keith.
Present.
Frederice Latchman. Frederice.
Present.
Got you. Okay. Cindy LeBron.
Present.
Christine Malden.
Present.
Zuma Novoa.
Present.
Got you. Cirilla Nunez.
Present.
Shrey Richardson. Pablo Rivera.
Here on Zoom.
Got you. Raul Rubio. Eliseo Ruiz.
Here.
Josue Salazar. Milagro Sandoval is excused. Eunice Santiago. Eunice Santiago. Juan Sarah has resigned. Juan Cerati.
Present.
Got you. Annette Spellin. B. Spiederman. John Stanesco.
Present.
James Stewart.
Here.
Christian Tate.
Present.
Ben Tucker. Crystal Vargas. Michael Varley. Yefim Veronikov. Did I get your last name right? Okay, great. Thank you. Linda Whitfield. Joanne Wu. All right. Do you have the tally, Mr. Camacho? 35. We have 35 present. Thank you all for being here. All right. We will move on now. For folks that did not sign in, please come and sign. The second agenda item we have is the acceptance of the agenda. Is there a motion from the board? Christian makes the motion. Raul Rubio seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Agenda item number 3, acceptance of the previous meeting minutes. Is there a motion from the board? Annette makes the motion. Zach Hendrickson seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. And next we have, before we have the deputy inspector come up, I'm going to ask folks to board members quietly line up to get food this evening. We have a meal, and once board members are finished, the public is welcome to help themselves. Now let's welcome Deputy Inspector Maffey from the 83rd Precinct.
Good evening, everyone. Deputy Inspector Maffey, 83rd Precinct Commanding Officer. Before I get into the crime report, I'll just comment on a few things that were mentioned at the last meeting that we had. Truck route, always a hot topic. So since we've last met, we've conducted 2 operations regarding trucks traveling throughout the command off route. We focused those operations on the corridors of Bushwick Avenue, Wilson Avenue, Knickerbocker Avenue, and Wyckoff Avenue. During those 2 operations, we issued 48 summonses and made 1 arrest. Of the 48 summonses we issued, 28 were for trucks being operated off route. The other violations we observed were cell phone usage, disobeyed traffic control device, red light, and 1 arrest was made for a suspended driver's license. In addition, there were some locations that were mentioned that could use some traffic intelligence reporting, meaning signage, a possible traffic light or a stop sign. So we submitted our intelligence reports to DOT to have them evaluate those locations. They'll do an on-site assessment, they'll go back to us, and then we'll see if they're going to use any signage or whatnot at those locations. So all of those have been submitted. We also conducted a package theft operation in which we did place 1 individual under arrest because we are suffering from quite a bit of package theft in the command. Our noise meter has since been recalibrated. It was out of service for about 2 weeks. It had to be recalibrated, but as of May 1st, we got that back. And we submitted 7 more nightlife locations into the city's CURE program. City's CURE program is a non-police agency that works with the nightlife establishments to try to answer and address some of the community concerns that are occurring without using law enforcement. So it's just a third party. So we submitted 7 more locations to that program. As far as the crime report goes, unfortunately, we did take some violence since we've last met. We had the unfortunate incident of a male being shot on April 28th at approximately 3:20 in the morning. This happened on Cooper between Broadway and Bushwick. That male is expected to make a full recovery. That case is still open and active, so I'm not going to speak any further on it. We also had an incident of shots being fired on May 4th at approximately 2:30 in the afternoon in the vicinity of 1369 Broadway. These shots were fired from our side of Broadway at an unknown group of people across the street on the other side of Broadway. The reason I'm mentioning that is because one side of Broadway is the 83rd Precinct and the other side is the 81st Precinct. So on our side, aiming at someone across the street. That case is still open also. We also took some additional violence, some stabbing violence. So unfortunately, on April 26th, in the vicinity of 1071 Broadway at approximately 1:40 in the morning, we had an individual escorted out of a nightclub location. While he was in front of that location, he did slash the bouncer. That bouncer's expected to make a full recovery. This individual then left the location. We're still looking into why, but he then returned shortly after to that vicinity and stabbed another individual. This individual appears to be a third party, not involved in anything that was occurring earlier. That individual unfortunately passed away. That was Saturday evening. I was on scene. We responded pretty quickly. We locked down the Broadway corridor. Not only did we place the individual under arrest on scene, we also recovered the weapon that was used. In addition to that, May 17th, which was just this past Sunday, at approximately 8:50 in the morning, inside of 276 Cooper, there was a dispute among the residents inside that apartment. It appears to be domestic related. Officers were called regarding a dispute between 2 people. When they arrived, they heard screaming, calls for help. They made a quite heroic efforts to get inside that apartment. When they were able to get inside that apartment, unfortunately, we did have a victim who sustained a fatal knife wound. So she passed away. An arrest was made on scene. And that case is still being looked into as an exact motive, but it was the two people inside the apartment. No one else was involved with that. Okay. I am going to speak on an incident that occurred on May 2nd at around 10:30 in the evening by Wyckoff Hospital. So along Wyckoff, and I'm going to get into this when I talk summer deployment, but we do have more officers deployed in that region due to nightlife. So some of the officers that were deployed to the nightlife team made observations of quite a few people standing and blocking in the street at that location. Our numbers are approximately 200 to 300 people. The officers just saw them blocking the street, blocking the sidewalk. It definitely stood out because that usually doesn't happen over there. So they called for some additional officers and they started to investigate what was going on. What we know now is that for whatever reason, an individual under the custody of ICE needed medical attention and was taken to Wyckoff Hospital. We don't know where that individual was picked up, where they came from, where they were going. All we know is that it appears an individual needed medical attention, and that location was used to provide that individual with medical attention. The group appears to know this because they then circled and kind of blocked all ways in and out of that location, including the streets, which is problematic. They also threw debris in the street. So officers then attempted to reopen the streets for ambulances as well as civilian cars, buses, whatnot. And a lot of the people complied and got out of the roadway, and we were able to open up the streets. A very small percentage of people didn't comply, so we made approximately 9 arrests that night. This was very, very news-driven. The police commissioner spoke on this. I'm not going to try to reword her statements word for word, but I will say this. The statement from the NYPD is that, and I'm going to paraphrase this, is that we don't help ICE conduct civil immigration enforcement. We do not assist them in that. We also do not prohibit them from doing that. We are completely uninvolved. So the same way that we would open up the street for a vehicle to go down the roadway, the officers did that night. Same way for an ambulance, for a civil worker car, same thing for an ICE agent. Now, if you look into, is that assisting ICE in their mission, that's, I guess, is debatable, right? But officers are going to maintain safety, whether it's an ICE agent or not. Those are the actions the officers engaged in that night. However, that incident is being reviewed by Internal Affairs to ensure that officers acted appropriately. How do I know that? Because I've been contacted to provide information regarding who was on scene. So and I'll say this, if you have or know of or you believe officers weren't acting appropriately at that incident, whether you were there or you have video on your phone, the best thing you can do is provide that to Internal Affairs, because there is an open case, they're looking into it, and then they can take that as that goes, okay? But again, to paraphrase, the NYPD does not assist or inhibit ICE in their civil immigration enforcement efforts. I mentioned summer deployment, so in the NYPD, summer begins in May. So we are doing our summer deployment, so that it basically entails a lot more officers in the command, mostly on foot patrols, especially over the weekend. So we have a lot more officers in the command Friday, Saturday, Sundays. They're deployed in pretty much the similar spots we're using. They're a little bit more focused on the parks, the nightlife area, and then we were able to deploy in some other problematic areas below the command, along Hope Gardens type area. So we have officers deployed to that. We also were able to deploy our midnight conditions team. So they work on the overnights. They also work on the weekends. I think they're the ones helping us with our CAT converter thefts, which we are suffering from in the lower part of the command, Sector Adam, because we have almost no CAT converter thefts as of the last time we met. Something I do want to mention, it only occurred once in the command, but it's been occurring throughout the city, is an elderly jewelry necklace scam. So a vehicle will be driving along, they'll usually see an elderly person, male or female, and they decide to bless them They say they remind them of a family member, they want to touch their hands and kiss them, and they hug them and massage them, and during that, they're removing their neck chain from their neck without the victim even knowing. They're also then replacing the necklace they stole with another necklace, which is a lot cheaper in value. So they keep changing the vehicles, but it's always like a random stranger, hey, come here, you look like my cousin, she passed away, can I just kiss your hand? And they just kind of build it like that. So really simple is just if you don't let anyone invade your private space or touch you, then they can't remove your necklace or your jewelry. We only took one of those in the command, but it is surrounding us and occurring throughout the city. As far as our crimes, we're really, really close, if not down, on basically all our crimes: robbery, burglary, grand larceny, and GLA. I mentioned the package theft operation that we conducted, and we made an arrest. The one crime area that we are up in would be assaults. What we're seeing with the assaults is that they're very much DV-driven, and DV crime is increasing in the command. That's one of the harder crimes to address because it's usually indoors, and if it's not reported, it's very hard for us to address it. If it is reported, we always usually make an arrest because we know what the perpetrator is, but the bigger part of that is then we can provide services and resources to the victim to try to correct the issues occurring in the household. So that's kind of where the DV program focuses on. I have officers specifically assigned to domestic violence within the command that only deal with that stuff. I'm almost finished. So we have Bushwick Collective coming up on Saturday, May 30th. Just expect road closures, St. Nick, Wyckoff, Jefferson, Star area. That's going to be a big boxed out street festival with performers and art. Expected to finish by about 6:30, but I won't be able to open up the streets until I clean the whole area. So just expect some road closures in that area. If you want a map, if you reach out to Community Affairs, they can give you a map of the area we're going to be freezing. And then we're not going to meet again until after the Puerto Rican parade. So I'll speak on that briefly. A lot of road closures on that day. That's Sunday, June 13th, or 14th, one of those days. It's a Sunday, 14th. Thank you. So along Knickerbocker, you're going to have a very large parade, and then some of the streets around that are going to be closed off to get parade goers to the location and to maintain safety so the police can move around the location. On Knickerbocker itself, there will be no vending, there will be no barbecues, because we would need to be able to use the sidewalks to get up and down just in case emergency incident occurs. The outside corridors, avenues will be frozen for police usage after a certain time, so that if I have to move north or south along the parade route without running through the parade, we can get up and down. We also have an ambulance staged on the route with a direct frozen pathway right to Wyckoff Hospital if we need to get someone out of there quickly. Something we're doing different this year, aside from different type of officer deployment, I am deploying officers at elevated positions along the route so they can see and look down at what's going on. And we are trying to do a senior viewing area. We have a flyer that was made. The elected has the flyer. They made it. Trying to coordinate one specific area just for seniors to come and watch the parade. It's never been done before. I thought we should try it. That's going to be a big day of celebration. That's been happening in the command for a long time. Whether there was a parade or not, there will be celebration in the command. It's just historical. So we're going to have a very safe, fun, ceremonial, celebrating day, but it is Sunday. And I'm very cognizant that young children have to go to school on Monday, and as well as people have to go to work on Monday. So something that is allowed, or maybe the officers use discretion with at 2 o'clock on that day, probably won't be allowed at 9 p.m. that day. So we're going to have a lot of open dialogue and communication explaining to people that children need to wake up for school. And I'm expecting a lot of compliance as long as we have a large constituency of volunteers and violence interrupters to try to work with us as we work with the community to make sure everyone stays safe that day. Just so everyone's aware, the report that I read from the first parade had an estimated attendance of 5,000 spectators. The report I submitted for this parade this year has an estimated attendance of 40,000 spectators. So it's gotten very, very large, very, very big. We've asked for more officers, more street closures, and more units and agencies. I am finished, and I'll open up to questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ceballos, if you don't mind, I'll pass the mic to the Deputy Inspector. Just go up there. I'll give him this one. Yeah. Just like that.
Gotcha.
Felix Ceballos again. Hello, Inspector. My question is, you say now in summertime is going to be more offer in the street to take care of the community. In the same way, it's going to be increase the checkpoint in our community? Thank you.
That would be part of the deployment process, some more checkpoints. Yes, you would be safe to say you'll see some more checkpoints, yes.
Hey, good evening, Ben Tucker. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your attention to Bushwick Avenue. This comes up all the time, how it's not a truck route, and yet there are trucks there 24/7. I'm just wondering if you would be willing to share the locations that you recommended signage to the DOT and what the signage was.
There were the locations mentioned last meeting. Wilson and Grove was specifically mentioned to me. There was a difficult turn along Bushwick. I don't have that address on me right now, but basically, from my previous notes, we wrote down what people had mentioned, and then we put in intel reports, and it was mostly for signage for trucks and/or to try to persuade them from going down a certain street because they were getting stuck. I don't have those locations on me, but we could get those if you'd like.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's not necessarily a matter of folks who are disregarding things for their own convenience. I think the trucks don't want to get tickets either, and they certainly don't want to get stuck because time is money. Yeah. And so they don't want to be on a truck route that's not a truck route either. And so the more we can show them that that's not really where they're supposed to be driving, the safer it is for everybody else.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions, folks? Going once?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Pablo, yeah.
Hi, Pablo Rivera, Community Board 4 member. I have a question. Can you guys hear me good?
Yes.
Yes, because I'm actually in the hospital with my mom's having surgery. But I want to ask, I've been to the Puerto Rican Day Parade for a few years right now. And last year, to be honest, it wasn't a family parade. There was bottles of Don Julio all over the place. People were walking around with bottles of liquor in public. The people driving in those little fancy cars along the parade, in public, smoking weed and drinking. I think that's an eyesore for families that go with their kids. Like if I see that again, I would not take my kids there. And my youth organization actually marched last year. What steps are going to be taken to hold people that sign up to be in the parade accountable to their behavior? They got to behave in a certain way. They can't have bottles of Don Julio or any liquor and smoking weed in public inside the cars.
So as far as members participating in the parade, they're being vetted and identified and documented by the parade runner, which is an elected official. So if we see them doing such, in theory, we should know who they are because they're not being allowed on the route without being identified and vetted. There's nothing saying we can't take enforcement on that, in addition to prohibiting them from participating in the future of the parade. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it answered my question, but here's another point. I saw all that drinking between Menahan and Green on Knickerbocker, right past the precinct. So I just hope that this year, our officers watch that more, and hopefully the vetting is better. Because I definitely didn't like it. I didn't like it last year. I don't think that was a family parade last year.
Yeah, we're going to do our best with that.
Thank you.
The elected has a really robust system of documenting who's being allowed in the route. So I'm confident we'll be able to identify most of the people participating in that. Also, every officer has body cams on, so we could just film all the body cam footage we need and then also use that later to try to maybe identify if we need to find this person. But I'm very cognizant of that. It's like a lot of people, a lot of celebrating. It's a big day. We're going to try our best to make sure everyone stays safe and also celebrates.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Courtney, Community Board 4.
Hi.
One of the issues, and I called my blonde lady cop friend that's there, I forgot her last name. is that you're saying that you're doing noise issues with clubs and stuff, but a lot of the noise happens right on the blocks. I mean, people just park their cars out and turn up stereos to where my whole building shakes. And I asked for help with this last time and nobody ever got back. I've actually called you, nobody ever gets back. We need people also kind of vetting that situation as well.
Yeah, so if that's observed, a 311 complaint can be lodged. I would like to connect you with your Q team officer so you two can speak directly. That might help the deployment.
Yeah, but 311, you have to have an address for the person and all that. I'm talking about in the streets. The quality of life people should be stopping that at the same time they're stopping all the noise from the clubs.
I agree, yes. I agree with you.
Debbie, we see your hand. You're muted.
Hi, everyone. My name is Debbie. I am actually the lead organizer of the Knickerbocker Puerto Rican Day Parade. Pablo, this is, I am very saddened that you have been feeling this way for a little under a year, and you have not expressed that to us directly. But to address that, in evaluating everything that happened last year, that was definitely brought up. It's something that we are working, the committee is working together to make sure we do PSAs regarding this matter. Not only that, but we've been working very closely with NYPD and basically escalating the amount of officers within the blocks that we are, the area, the set area, right, where everyone is waiting to go into the parade and participate in the parade. So we're going to have more volunteers. We are scheduled to have more volunteers within those blocks to make sure that if something is, if someone has an alcoholic beverage or doing something inappropriately, we are aware of, and we make sure that for the following year they will not be able to participate. So this is something that we have been evaluating, as I said, and we are definitely working on making this year's parade a safe event. That is our priority, and also culturally and a lot of fun.
Thank you, Debbie.
I just want to say that I do not blame the committee. You understand? I happen to have marched. I marched last year with the assemblywoman, and then on my way back, after we finished, on the way back is when I observed all of that, and it was actually from those cars at the end that were going along the route of the parade. But I'm in no way I blame the committee. Not your fault.
Thank you,
Thank
Pablo.
you. Thank you. Just a quick answer. I'm so sorry for that. You did mention Manningham and you did mention beginning box, but regardless, we are very excited to do this. I know the community looks forward to this, and just know that we are trying our best to work together in connection, together with the NYPD to make sure that this event is a safe one for all.
Thank you, Debbie. We have a couple of other people in person. Before we get to them, I just want to ask, is there a policy for behavior or code of conduct that's provided to all participants in the parade?
Yes, there is a behavior and code of conduct. We also have an orientation, a parade orientation before they go. And again, this is something that has gotten bigger and bigger over the years. And with that, a lot of changes in how we address, new issues that come up. Just know that that is something that is taken very seriously, and we're going to be on top of that.
Hi, Naima Hawk, CB4 member. I have a quick question. There's a broken stop sign on the corner of Linden and Evergreen that's been there for a while, and it was actually like relocated from where the stop sign was to one of the green spaces on the building. I don't know who to go to about that, but it's been broken for a while, and I think cars don't understand there's supposed to be a stop sign there. So who can
You can call the office. You can call the office, or you call 311, give us the complaint, and we'll then follow up.
It's DOT, thank you. Next.
Thank you again, Esteban, Community Board 4. My question is regarding the incident that happened at Wyckoff Hospital. I'm glad to hear that it's being investigated and there's a lot of things coming along. My question would be in regards to protocol. Would hospital, I understand that NYPD is not cooperating with ICE, but wouldn't, and besides the personal belief, I mean, of having masked people coming around and arresting people, but would protocol not be that if somebody was taken, that hospital police would contact NYPD if there was like a disturbance or something was happening? Because while I understand you're not cooperating with ICE, it seems like that situation really moved quickly, and it would be interesting to know, is there a protocol that if somebody is taken to the hospital and something's happened, that hospital security would contact the NYPD?
Hospital security does speak with us. I'm not sure if they did that night, but yeah, they do call, so if they have an incident at the hospital, they'll call 911, but they could also reach out directly to us, hospital police, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that is all the questions this evening. We thank everyone, and thank you, Deputy Inspector. All right, next we have the introduction of elected officials and other representatives, and just want to address the... We have to keep moving with the agenda. Any other questions can be addressed separately. And just a heads up on the weather, folks, I've been getting a lot of questions. Can we leave? It is flooding in the streets, so go at your own risk. The water should subside, hopefully, by the time this meeting ends. Most folks know, 8:30, 9 o'clock potentially, but there is significant flooding outside, as we know, commonly impacts Wilson Avenue during weather events. So just want to be mindful. There have been some leaks in the room, as you've noticed. We've tried to address them. To not interrupt the meeting, there has been some flooding coming in from the doors, so we do not encourage you to exit from those doors unless you want more water to come in. But hopefully, again, by the time the meeting ends, the water will subside. There's not much we can do beyond that. However, folks have been contacting 311. They've been issuing alerts to different elected officials just to make sure that folks are aware.
I know I don't have the mic, but just for everybody in the room, please also watch your step as water has been tracked in and out. Like there's parts that are quite slick, so I think we're trying to clean it up, but just everyone, want everybody to be safe. Watch your step, please.
Thank you, Zach. I'll just paraphrase for those on Zoom. Zach was just stating that everyone should watch their step. There has been some water that's been tracked in. We do not have wet floor signs, so just be careful where you step so you don't slip and fall. All right, are we good with the weather? All right, so we'll move on to the elected officials and representatives, name and contact information only. This also includes organizations, businesses, and any city agency representatives in addition to our elected officials reps. Go ahead.
Yes, and yes, we're trying to contact agencies as we speak. Jonathan Betancourt from Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez's office. Phone number is 718-599-3658. Address is 266 Broadway, Suite 201. Yes.
Hello, I'm Madeline Enlow. I'm from the Office of Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. Our office is located at 209 Geralman Street, and our number is 718-802-3700. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Kim Vega from Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez's office. We're located at 244 Union Ave, and our phone number is 718-963-3141. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any hands on Zoom, although I see some names. Go ahead, Maria. You're muted. Yep.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Maria Babos from the Office of Senator Julia Salazar, phone number 573-1726.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Hi, everyone. Deborah Villanueva, Assemblywoman Maritza Davila's office, 673 Park Street. corner of Central, 718-443-1205.
Thank you all for being here, and just want to confirm, are there any city agency, organization, nonprofit representatives, library representatives, or any business owners that are here? They can also introduce themselves, name and contact info. I see no hands on Zoom. I see no one in person. Keep moving. Yep, we need folks to come up. Name and contact information only.
Danielle Chambers. Today, unfortunately, I'm just going to give you some information from the...
Ms. Chambers, it's just name and contact information only right now. Announcements are later.
Danielle Chambers.
Thank you. Who's on Zoom? All right, go ahead. Luridia?
Hello, my name is Yuridia Jimenez. I am the community coordinator for Oya Group. EGROUP.org.
Thank you for being here. I don't see any other hands on Zoom. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Benny Emery. I have a cafe called St. Michel Cafe on Urban Ave. Just want to say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for your efforts organizing for the Warfield fire. So I've been seeing everything. All right, we will move on now to the committee reports, starting with Economic Development, Housing, and Land Use.
Hi, everybody. Ann Guiney, Chairperson of the Economic Development, Housing, and Land Use Committee. We most recently met on April 28th, Tuesday, last Tuesday of the month. Everybody is always welcome. We had it was a very robust meeting, but the biggest issue that we discussed was the 132, 136 Melrose Street rezoning application. That project team came before the full board last month. There was a pretty robust back and forth here too. And just to very briefly refresh your memory, because I don't want to rehash all of it, it's basically, it's on Melrose between Bushwick and Stanwix, and it's a narrow lot, two-story warehouse. Right now, it's zoned M1, and that is light manufacturing, and they'd like to allow for a 6-story mixed use with ground floor light manufacturing. 18 residential units above, and this would be mandatory inclusionary housing. This is privately funded. There is no city subsidy involved at all. So those, that puts some limits. So we had a really, when I say robust, let's just, it was robust, and I will leave it at that, our conversation. And it's often like that at EDC-HLU, which is good. So there were a lot of questions about, like, is this going to be a nightlife use, or is it actually manufacturing? They had mentioned something about like a maker space. We said, I'm not sure we need maker spaces. We do need light manufacturing, though. So there are a lot of types of things, like what types of things. We also asked about our longstanding priority about more 2- and 3-bedroom units and fewer studios. So we did flag that. This is a pretty small building. There's not tons of leeway, but they agreed to that, or at least conceptually. And then affordability was a big issue that came up, and it's basically 6 of the 18 units is roughly 33%. That would be MIH. That is above the 25% minimum. So finally, some of the real, there were some concerns. I will not pretend that there were not. Basically, what they're doing is they're moving their building down to the corner, the old Richie's Gym on the corner of Stanwix and Bushwick Avenue. So they're going to continue operating and keep their staff, and they want to redevelop that building. So this is what they're going to stay in the area. They've been here for, I think it was 16 years they've been in business. And so we did ask for, we asked for some binding stipulations, basically. So our committee recommendation after our robust conversation was yes with stipulations. And let me quickly pull that up. So that was legally binding ground floor use so that it can't become a bar, that it is actually light manufacturing in some way, shape, or form. And for those who dig deep in the weeds of the zoning code, light manufacturing, there's a lot that can fit into that. And we also want to work with the council member, and we're asking Councilmember Gutierrez's office to actually really support us in this, to make sure that there is this, preservation of light manufacturing. Then we just want more family-size units within this project and shifting towards larger units. And then I think, yeah, that was it. It was, we supported it unanimously, and this is, I think, I thought quite beautiful about the Economic Development and Land Use Committee. The two strongest critics of this project, the people who asked the most questions, Mr. Camacho and Kristen Celeste Tate, were the ones who made the motion and seconded it to support the project in the end after this very robust debate. So what we are asking for the full board to do is to approve this rezoning with these above stipulations. They are in the notes. I had to give just, for time, a pretty short one, but you got it in your email. Hopefully you have it, and hopefully you had a chance to read it. The next, and I'll keep this super short and snappy, I promise. The next the other big thing that we talked about was the CB4 Statement of Community District Needs. Like, I think I've mentioned this before, we're really trying to revamp the way that we think about it and be strategic, because often we sort of go down the list and we send it back to the agencies and they say, like, thank you, we can't do this, or thank you, duly noted. And so we're trying to be much smarter, more strategic, and figure out, like, A, what are the better ways to ask questions, B, how can we get better results for our community? So that was another big part of the conversation that's ongoing and hopefully is going to be a conversation that many of you participate in. Then there are a couple other smaller things in the committee mail that came up. Something is coming up at 150 Knoll Street. They have asked for an informational meeting request. 150 Knoll, it's a big building. It was built as of right. It's actually, I think it's on both sides of the block. It has affordable housing, none of which is affordable for this community, but they want to get a commercial overlay for the ground floor. I do believe their business is already there, and so this is something that it raised some. I'm not going to add a color to it, but it raised a flag for me in terms of when this request is being made. And then a few other things. Finally, something very beautiful and sad at the same time was that Mr. Camacho, Celeste, and I, Ms. Spellin, we all went to basically a Brooklyn Borough Board had an event for people who are being term limited off. Raul Rubio, Zinavoa, I think that's it. And so Mr. Camacho got an award. Ms. Spellin got a shout out. I spoke about what it's like to be the EDC HLU chair and all of the beauty and difficulty of that. But honestly, there's no better volunteer crazy job in the world than this. So that was very wonderful, and I found it very moving. So that is it. Are there any questions? Anybody? Any questions on, there will be a vote and a recommendation. We're going to ask for a recommendation from the full board. So does anyone have any specific questions about 132, 136 Melrose? They did present to the full board last month. There was a lot of back and forth then too, so.
And you can come over here. I have the mic, so he's going to ask a question.
Hi, John Stanesco, CB4. I was wondering for the Melrose development, Did they commit to a certain level of affordability for the MIH housing?
So we did say, I mean, there are restrictions within MIH, and I think they're working within those. So you can only get really low stuff. I mean, they actually did, and unfortunately, my computer died yesterday, so I was not able to pull this up. So I don't actually have those numbers at the top of my head, and I apologize for that. But maybe Celeste?
The specifics are in the report, so I would just encourage folks to take a look through the reports that you received. I'm going to try to find it. For the sake of time, I don't think we should pause right now because folks want to leave, but I'm going to try to find the specific. It's either MIH option 1 or 3. It's whatever was recommended by the Bushwick Community Plan. I just want to make sure I get the right one.
And I believe we asked for option 3. That is my recollection. I could be totally wrong, though. So.
Thank you.
But we basically said we want more affordable, like the lower affordability, I mean, lower AMI numbers, knowing that we might give up a unit or two just because it's such a small building.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Go ahead, Z.
Yes, hi, good evening. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation and everything. My concern and a quick question is concerning the traffic, because where this location is, this used to be the old Nick Sweater warehouse from the 40s until whenever. So this is actually across from Hank's Bar. Now, that particular little small street between between Jefferson Street that goes into Steinwick and then becomes Melrose, it's a traffic jam right there, because when they redid the street, it created a 3-way traffic. So how is that being addressed? Because I'm trying to fight trucks coming up Steinwick from Flushing, which they're not supposed to come up, and we have backup, and now it's becoming really polluted and everything. So how are they going to deal now with all this traffic moving forward with this? Because actually, I'm right on the corner. I live right on the corner.
So thank you, Z, for that question. Yeah. And what the project team that came before us said, one of the primary motivating factors for this entire request for rezoning and moving their business was traffic. That they are, I can't remember the exact nature of the business. They're basically a reseller, is that it, Celeste? I can't remember what they do, but basically they need 18-wheelers and they can't get them in, and because it's a narrow site, and that while they have access and curb cuts and that space, it just doesn't work because of the traffic. And they thought that logistically, if they moved their truck traffic to the corner, it's much less likely to be problematic, or they thought, for their business and, for the general neighborhood, but so that they're not even running trucks down that street anymore. So that was, I cannot speak specifically to your question, but I do recall that was one of the reasons why they're even asking for this in the first place. Does that help? I hope that was a little bit useful, but I'm not sure.
Thank you so much. I won't take up too much.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Z. It doesn't look like there are any other questions or comments in person on Zoom. So thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
All right. And we will move on. Environmental protection, transportation, et cetera, et cetera. Ben?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Ben Tucker, Chairperson of Environmental Protection, Transportation, Sanitation, and Parks and Recreation Committee. We've actually met twice since April. We met at the end of April, and then we met again in the beginning of May. So I'm going to be as quick as possible. Unless, Celeste, would it make sense to table the May report, or should I just double them up?
Everyone would suggest doing bullet points this evening.
So I'll just do both very quickly. Okay, excellent. So April, we went over the statement of district needs. I'm not going to go over them individually because they're all in the committee reports, which are available in print, but the headline is we really, really want the comfort station at Maria Hernandez Park to remain a top priority for the entire committee because everyone agrees that it is in dire need of upgrade. And then the other request that I would say is worth the attention of the board is we changed the language of our request for the Broadway reconstruction. Just to catch everyone up, that is quoted as a $100 million project. I'm putting that in air quotes, $100 million project. To get, Councilmember Nurse mentioned that to get the city to do the design phase, which would be sort of like the signifier of getting a shovel in the ground and then getting work done, would be $12 million. So rather than seeing this as a $100 million project that can't get started until $100 million is allocated, it really makes sense for us to call on the city to start the design work, just to start this initial phase to get things worked. And at the same time, we also know that there are a lot of safety improvements being done along Broadway by the DOT currently. We do not want the DOT to sort of hide behind waiting for the whole Broadway to be reconstructed to do more safety improvements. So when our recommendation was that when we submit the request, we also include language about safety improvements like daylighting, curb extensions, turn bans, and lighting, et cetera, et cetera. So look out for that and the rest of our recommendations in the fall when the board takes that up, and then you can also just review all of our recommendations in the committee report. We also had two bits of committee mail that I think are worth flagging. One is that the Myrtle Broadway MTA station is going to be under construction for ADA upgrades. That is happening on Melrose Street, and there is going to be a complete cutoff to traffic for 10 or 15 days. It's ongoing now. It's for the next couple days, and also just hard to traverse as a pedestrian. So just be aware of Melrose on the Broadway side, between Broadway and Bushwick Avenue on Melrose, for the construction of the ADA elevators for the MTA station there. And then the other thing is New York City is, by a law in the state called Sammy's Law, now able to change the speed limit for certain streets on a much more selective basis. Rather than changing them wholesale, they can actually highlight certain streets, say we would like the speed limit to be 15 or 20 miles an hour on this particular street. So there is a very long list of streets that the DOT is now, using this authority of this law, Sammy's Law, going to limit the speed limit to 15 miles per hour. And that list of streets is also in a DOT letter to us and in the committee report, so I'd recommend people check that out. And then we'll also have 60 days to make comments on that as well. So if folks feel strongly about the speed limit changes, check out the list of those, check out that list. And then two small bits of old business. One small bit of old business is we had made a recommendation for Palmetto Street and Ridgewood Place a few months ago as a committee. There is a very big problem with bus backup over there, and there is an area right where the buses are in the radius of the bus turn of livery cabs that are double parked there because they used to have a taxi zone area, and then that was moved, and now they have none, so they have sort of taken it up on themselves to do it. The DOT did a walkthrough of that area, and one of our board members and committee members, Jason Gers, was there, and so he told us about how the walkthrough was, and that there was a stop sign that had been, there was a missing stop sign that was knocked over, there was a accessibility signal that had been knocked over, a no turn sign, and that the buses were missing what would have been a stop sign to roll over it. And so there were some recommendations that the DOT is going to figure out how to do outreach, and then what we'll also do is our committee member has volunteered to do some outreach to the livery cab drivers so that they can attend whatever public outreach DOT is doing, and then maybe turn that into a loading zone or something. I don't know. I can't predict how that's going to go. Last bit of new business is we welcomed the hosts of Troutman Open Streets. It is a program that I'm a huge fan of, and I would recommend everybody in the community check it out. That's a Saturday to Sunday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. closure of traffic on Troutman Street from Irving Avenue to St. Nicholas Avenue, and they welcome programming and nonprofit partners. No vending is allowed, but they're very receptive of all sorts of volunteer programming and free programming there. That is it for April. Now let me roll into May very quickly. We had a presentation from the MTA. They presented to us about the Interborough Express, which most of you have probably heard of, a very large project that's going to connect Brooklyn and Queens, which is a very big transit gap and not served by the existing transit. It's going to connect with Bushwick at Myrtle Avenue, and also on Wilson Avenue. It's going to connect with the Wilson Avenue L train station once completed. And so there were a couple of concerns that we had that are specific to Bushwick. We're concerned about if it's going to be touching with in the community. We want to make sure that there's going to be mitigation of sound and noise for residents. And so they're in the environmental phase, the environmental scope phase, and so that is going to be something that the MTA will produce a report on, but it was a concern of ours. The other thing was that the MTA claims to have a very large percentage of this land already owned, but that they will have to buy certain parcels of land to get the IBX running, and that was a concern from committee members about how the MTA is going to conduct that process and how transparent they're going to be, frankly, about that process as well if they have to buy land to make this project happen. And then one other concern is that Wilson Avenue is only half ADA accessible. Only one side of Wilson Avenue, L Station, is ADA accessible. I believe the Manhattan-bound side only. And so we really wanted the MTA, they couldn't commit there, but we wanted some sort of commitment that this is even though they will be highlighting this for upgrade, it's on their list in the next 5 years of their 2025 to 2029 capital plan, which means they've already, I think we had a mention of it earlier today, they've already highlighted it as a station that they will be prioritizing for upgrade. But the concerns from our committee was you can't just build an IBX and connect it there and not have it be fully ADA compliant by the time you have a light rail connected to it. It would make no sense. So they heard us. That was a concern that they are hearing around from every community board that has accessibility concerns with their partner stations, and they will publish the environmental report, I believe, at the end of 2027, at the end of the design phase. That is it. That's it for the report. Thank you, everybody. I'll take questions.
Anything for Ben and the committee? Yeah.
Hi, Nancy, CB4 member. Ben, when is the Myrtle Broadway elevator supposed to be done?
I would have to look back into what the MTA did the outreach for us, but I believe it's 2027, summer 2027. I think it's a one-year project.
Okay, but Melrose will be closed until the end of this month, I think?
I think they only closed it to traffic for 16 days for the second half of May, and I don't know what else they're going to be doing there, but that's the only time that they have it closed to traffic.
Oh, okay, got it. Looks like nothing's been done, so just asking.
I'm certain.
I don't see, oh, go ahead. Please use the mic.
I noticed on my way here on Bushwick and Danielle Chambers, your neighbor, and on the corner of Bushwick and Grove, I see that it's going to be closed, and it's going to be closed at an interesting time from May 3rd to June 3rd. June 13th or something in that area. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it's voting. It's a voting area. And suddenly the sign shows up where we're supposed to go and vote. Just want to mention that.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's really worth mentioning. And if you can report that to the board's office, they could reach out to the agency and let them know that that's a pretty big oversight. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other questions. Please come up to the mic, question.
Sorry, this isn't really a question. I just texted you, but I don't think you saw it. My name is Zach Hendrickson. I just wanted to share the upcoming workshop dates, the community engagement dates for the IBX. Thursday, May 28th in Ridgewood from 6 to 8 p.m. at PS 88Q. That's in Ridgewood. And then May 30th, that's Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon, East New York Arts and Civic High School. That's 800 Van Sicklen Avenue. Avenue. So if anybody has strong opinions or wants to hear more about what's going on, I would recommend those dates. And also, just like putting on my Parks hat, I don't know how much this has actually made it out to people yet, but I just want to flag for folks who are interested in like doing summer events in parks that I know people are going to be thinking about coming up, especially with things like Juneteenth or things coming up soon. I just want to advise you all to think ahead and start talking to people early, because what our understanding is internally is that there's going to be some real permitting restrictions because of FIFA, because the NYPD is stretched really, really thin because of FIFA, and so that is going to have a knock-on effect for people trying to get permits to do things, large special events, especially in parks. So I just wanted, to make everybody aware of that. I don't know if that has like made its way to like community boards really yet or not.
Thanks for that, Zach. The bit about the parks permits, that's in our committee mail review, which is why I always remind people to read the committee mail review. And thank you for raising the IBX engagement dates, because they are really doing, they're trying to do as much community engagement as possible, and the MTA is, they could use a hand with that community engagement, So thank you. No, it's okay. I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb all meeting,
Are there any other questions for Ben? Otherwise, we will move on. Assembly member, you have a question for Ben on this committee report? You're muted.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, what is your name, young man? I came towards the end, so it's kind of difficult for me to pick up on the
Good
name.
evening, Assembly member. My name is Ben Tucker.
Hi, Ben. I would like for you to kind of the permits for the parks, because we've some permits regarding book bag giveaways. I'm teaming up with someone to do an entire dog event at the park with vendors and other people that are interested in utilizing the park. What I was told from the Parks Department is that Maria Hernandez is a hot ticket, and that you had to apply for this park the year before in order for someone to utilize it. Yes. Can you elaborate on that, please?
I can elaborate to the extent that I understand the permits process, which is that the board is no longer involved in it. We used to have involvement in the committee used to have involvement in the permit process, and that was because there were conflicts with some of the ball fields, and we wanted to make sure that local kids had priority access, and it wasn't just being given to like adult leagues or leagues that are all around, that adults can take the subway and kids need to walk to their local field. And two, a modicum of accountability for the folks who are applying for the permits, that if they were trashing the field or behaving inappropriately, they would have to come back to us the next year and apply for a permit, and we could scold them a little bit. That process has been taken away from the committee. I don't have that much of an opinion on that. It was a Parks Department decision. And then to the extent that we know about the delays with permits now, that was a letter that was sent to us as a committee mail review from basically flagging that both the NYPD and the DOT and Parks are just going to have their work cut out for them for the whole FIFA process, and to not expect permit approvals because of that.
No, and I got that because I did speak to the commissioner, but I also believe that they have a responsibility to report to the community. And I'll work with the council members to see if we could get that information on a yearly basis. People should be able to know when they can start applying to utilize the park, because we're getting over 300 people coming in and utilizing the park from wherever they come. And the answer is parks are free and everybody should be able to use a park. But if I was to close down Central Park, do you think they'll give it to me? Absolutely not.
Completely understandable. Right. Completely understandable.
I'm going to work with the council members to see if we can get at least, a time frame where people can start applying. That's it. Thank you.
And the community would really benefit from this giveaway. So, thank you.
Thank
Thank you both. And it sounds like there may be an opportunity, if this doesn't exist yet, but potentially legislation to prioritize a percentage of board events, right? If we know a lot of people are applying from all over, perhaps the district could have a percentage of the priority for those applications that are being granted. So happy to continue those conversations. All right, continue with our committee reports. Next, we have permits and licenses.
Can I just finish asking a question, please?
For Ben or the next committee report?
No, not for Ben. Just an overall, very quick overview, because I heard that there was Camacho texted me. He said it was okay. So I don't know.
After the committees, after the committee report, they got. You got Parks Day shape up, then we'll allocate time for you. Okay, I have 2 committees to report, then we'll give you the time. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Assemblywoman.
Good evening, everyone. The Permits and Licenses Committee met last week, May 12th, and we had quite a few liquor license applications, so I'm going to run through them. The first one is Visit LLC at 1196 Myrtle at Willoughby Avenue. This is mostly an art gallery that wants to host some openings and things. It's an art first bar, basically. Their hours were well within our stipulations, except for a little bit. They went over just by 1 hour, 2 nights of the week, but they agreed to scale back slightly to meet our stipulated hours, and so we ultimately supported them. The next one is Diego's Gyros, which is at 178 Irving between Stanhope and Stockholm. It is a Greek restaurant that specifically said they felt that they needed to add a liquor license to stay competitive with the nightlife in the neighborhood. Again, it's mostly a restaurant, so their hours were well within our stipulations, and we ultimately supported them as well. The next one is Fun Ramen House at 313 Knickerbocker at Hart. This is a Japanese restaurant, and again, their hours were within our stipulations, so we supported them. Next up was 101 Wilson Bar, which was coming in for an alteration. They were adding both an indoor space and a backyard space, about 1,400 square feet, 600 indoor, 800 outside, or vice versa. And they've come before us several times in the last couple of years. They used to have a lot of 311 complaints, but within the last year have really cleaned up their act and had none at all. So they have an existing old 4 a.m. license, but they mentioned that they closed to be in compliance with our stipulated hours. Ultimately, we supported them as well. They've been a really good neighbor. Next up is Esquina del Sabor, which is at 446 Wilson Avenue between Cornelia and Putnam. This is a new liquor license, a restaurant, again, well within our stipulations until midnight every night, a Latin restaurant. Once again, we supported them. There's a school nearby, but it measures just over 200 feet, which is the limit to have a liquor license nearby. So there was previously a liquor license there as well, so ultimately we supported them. Next up was Danger, oopsie, at 236 Knickerbocker between Troutman and Star. This is an existing nightlife venue. A lot of times the bars will characterize this as a transfer license, but that's not really a thing. It just means that there was someone there before them, so this is actually a new liquor license. They mentioned a lot about how they've significantly improved the space with programming, plants, arts, murals, things like that. They have a decibel meter and sound insulation, but their hours were well outside of our stipulations, Sunday through Wednesday until 2 a.m., and Thursday, Friday, and Saturday until 4 a.m. And they wanted the same hours for the outdoor area, so ultimately they didn't really want to scale back on that, so we voted not to support this applicant. Next, and I think, oh no, there was one more after that. Next up was Cathedral LLC at two separate liquor licenses at 428 Troutman and 430 Troutman. This is the former Brooklyn Maid site, so there's one sort of venue site, and then there's like a smaller cafe next door. It's really just a detail that they can't apply under the same liquor license, so they needed two. We spent quite a bit of time on this one. Again, it's between Wyckoff and St. Nicholas in that really saturated area. There's something like 30 plus other liquor licenses right around there within 500 feet. They were trying to, their application stated a 4 a.m. Liquor license sales 7 nights a week with an outdoor closing time originally for 4 a.m. as well. Their lawyer eventually, not eventually, he did it before the meeting, but they altered that application to make it until midnight closing, which is what Brooklyn Maid used to have. We had quite a few members of the community show up to testify about the issues with sound, both from the previous Brooklyn Maid location and Xanadu. There's a couple of houses that are sort of sandwiched in between on Star Street that have their back of the building towards Brooklyn Maid and the front of their building towards Xanadu. And so I think we had 4 or 5 people from the community who showed up to talk about how difficult it's been living kind of right in the thick of it there. I'm just going to say it because Celeste added it in the report. Residents fear another 4 a.m. music venue will, quote, ruin their lives and deepen oversaturation. So it's pretty serious over there. We also did have someone from the community show up in support of this application. I know that they've had, it's going to be St. Vitus. It's a bar that used to be in Greenpoint that was actually closed, I think, for DOB reasons a couple of years ago, but there's like a really strong community following and appreciation for this venue, which it's known as a heavy metal venue. So ultimately, because of the hours, we voted not in favor of this application. Other things that were brought up were sound and bass mitigation and management plans to control the crowds when they're lining up and kind of leaving shows and that sort of thing. And then finally, we had Mum's Brooklyn, which is on Wyckoff Avenue between Troutman and Star, and this is currently known as Le Doc, and it's a restaurant as well, hours well within our stipulations, outdoor patio use, but again, everything within our stipulations, and they're keeping everything, it's just the ownership is changing, so they're keeping all of the same staff, all the same menu, the chef, et cetera, they're just changing ownership, so we ultimately voted in favor of that. And then there were a couple of items. One was Bushwick Rotisseria, which is on Wyckoff and Sudam. We ultimately did not vote to support them because they did not show up and they were not in communication with the office. There is another bar called Bar 29 Holdings at 29 Locust at Beaver. They're going to be coming before us when they're ready. They're going for a renewal before a method of operation change. And then finally, the sampler at 234 Star Street between Wyckoff and Irving. They submitted the wrong paperwork, so they'll be coming probably they'll be on the June agenda next month. And sorry, finally, there was one more cannabis retail location at 1009 Broadway at Willoughby. They requested to attend the June PLC meeting. And I think that was pretty much it. The only other thing we talked about as well was Pacha Avant-Gardner. We were sort of going to give an advisory recommendation, but some people wanted to vote not in favor to support. Other people wanted to vote to make a motion to support them if they complied with our hours of our stipulated hours. But we ultimately couldn't come to a decision, so we didn't make a recommendation. And I think that is pretty much it. Any questions? The clapping always gets me.
All right, any questions? Courtney, you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to know, is there a cap on how many places can get new licenses? It just feels like we're being flooded with people with liquor licenses. I mean,
that's a great question. Technically, there are not supposed to be more than 3 on-premises hard liquor licenses within 500 feet. So in some areas of our saturated corridor, there's 35 or something. It's not really enforced. I'm not exactly sure why.
The SLA and all our public officials love to have a bunch of liquor licenses within a close area. That's all of our public officials.
I just wondered, is there anything we can do about that? I mean, it's kind of, if there is a law, why are we not following it?
Maritza?
Assemblymember, do you have a comment on that? I don't know if she's there.
Oh, now everybody wants me to speak, huh?
Yes, Assemblywoman, what are we doing about that?
After they finish, then we'll allow you to do what you got to do, Maritza. Let them finish here, please, and then I'll give you the mic for you to take care of whatever it is you have to. Next on the agenda is Shape Up Bushwick event.
No. Listen, I'm in Albany. We have not passed the budget. So I've been working on multiple things at the same time. Kristen, who asked the question? Can you ask that question once again, please?
Community Board 4.
Hi, how are you, Courtney? Can you ask the question again?
I just wonder, it just seems like we're just constantly, every month, there's more and more people getting these liquor licenses. And she just stated that there's a law against them being 500 feet next to each other, but that's not being enforced. Why not?
Okay, good question. So we have a new commissioner, Commissioner Fenn. And I had the deputy commissioner up in my office to have that discussion. Prior years, many years ago, for the past, nightlife on Wyckoff Avenue has been happening for the past 15, 20 years. That's the reality of it. Unfortunately, the commissioner that was there prior to Commissioner Fenn, they were giving out licenses like crazy, and we were trying to stay ahead of it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But about 2 weeks ago, I met with the deputy commissioner in my office in Albany, and they are very committed to slowing down the license permits. Okay? Kristen was very correct as she, in her report, that, there's still a lot of different establishments because that's the area in which they felt that they could do that. And they were granted that. But here's the thing, the community has to stay vigilant. You have to work with Kristen in order to kind of make an impact because it's getting out of control. But we are working on it. Furthermore, I would like to let you know, and I'm going to bring it back to the parade, for the Puerto Rican Day Parade, we are sending out notices to every establishment on Wyckoff, surrounding Wyckoff, Knickerbocker, Myrtle Avenue. Everyone is going to be in this meeting, including Kristen and the liquor license community board 4 and community board 1. This is where we're going to have the opportunity. The commissioner will be on that meeting as well. So I'm bringing everybody together to try and bring some resolve. Because listen, I live on Wyckoff. I live up the block. Everything that's happening, I look at it every weekend when I'm home. And I am so discouraged and disgusted with what's going on. Okay? I am not happy about that. All right? But it takes a community to put a stop to these types of things. I need you to back me up when it's time to do so. And then maybe they'll take a look and start enforcing what they need to enforce. Is that a fair answer?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
We appreciate it. James, you can continue.
Okay. James Stewart, Shape Up Bushwick Planning Chair. You have the report there. Shape Up Bushwick is on June 4th from 10 to 2 at Irving Square Park. I hope that each and every person in this room will be in attendance and will invite. We want to pack out the park, all right? We want to make sure that this is the best Shape Up Bushwick ever. We've had 3 planning meetings so far. Our 4th and last one will be next week, Thursday, May 28th. We're about 95% of the way done, and so we're just now finalizing the last few percentage so we can make sure that we have a successful event. Thank you.
Chairperson's report, which is mine. I will be quick. I just want to let everybody know we should have a moment of silence. A long-time board member, Ms. Joanna Bennett, passed away.
So at this time, we're going to ask everyone to rise as we pause to honor the life and legacy of Ms. Joanna Bennett, former CB4 parliamentarian. Ms. Bennett's service, dedication, and commitment to the community has left a lasting impact on many lives. Today, we remember her contributions with gratitude and respect. Let's now observe a moment of silence. Let us pray. Gracious God, tonight we pause with heavy hearts as we remember and honor the life of Ms. Joanna Bennett. We thank you for her years of service, her commitment to this community and community board, and the many lives she touched through her leadership and presence. Comfort her family, her friends, her colleagues, and all of us who mourn this loss. Grant us strength for the days ahead and peace that surpasses understanding. May our legacy of service, compassion, and dedication continue to inspire all of us who follow in her footsteps. Let us also be reminded that while life is fleeting, the impact of a faithful and caring life continues long after words have ended. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Well, she will be missing. Back on my agenda. I went to the meeting with Borough Hall with the board members that received. That was on. And Gani, thank you for your words at the meeting too. That you spoke out on that day. I also went to the Borough Board 26 statement of the Borough Hall with Antonio, and also on February the 17th, the district manager meeting, we met with Eric DeLong in regards to Broadway, the investment, Hope Gardens issues, and affordable housing. On Monday the 20th, I went to the Environmental Protection and Sanitation Committee. I also, on 423, went to the meeting in Hope Gardens with some of the issues that was going on in Hope Gardens and violence interrupters and programs that and mental health support and some of the services that I guess some of the people were putting up or wanted to in the meeting on common justice. Me and Celeste had a meeting from 3 to 6. Environmental Protection Committee I was in. I was also at like I told you, the programming with a borough president and recognition, reflection, community boards. Also the executive board on Wednesday the 6th. And the executive board on discussions where I just want to bring back, I went to the ribbon cutting ceremony on Grove. I also went to a ribbon cutting, co-naming for Canal Chambers on April 25th. It was raining that day and cold, but it was still done. The family, it was wonderful. On May 19th was the Bushwick 1000. You had to see the list of youths that applied. I haven't got the numbers, but it was wonderful. A lot of young kids came out. There was videos out there. If I tell you about 250 young kids, 18 to 30, looking for jobs. It was really good, and I was so happy. Riseboro, thank you. OMB, what is it? OBT, and also San Nick Alliances. They were there. We had tons of table construction, so I want to follow up and make sure that those 1,000 jobs and see what it was that they're going to get, and they get back. They send their resumes. People came dressed to impress. Our young kids wasn't with the pants in the ground. They was with their shirts and tie, and it was so beautiful. You couldn't believe how these youths came in there. They were ready. They had their resume on. They had, now it's a new gadget that they had somebody at the table with a barcode. They register. They go to the table. They did an interview there. They were interviewed for the jobs and what they were looking for. They would take their paper. It was really, really good, and I want to thank Antonio and Bruno and the whole staff and Riseboro, Maria Rivera, and all of them. They did a wonderful job, and I know they sent out. I was a little hard on them because they had another one on True. Bushwick 1000, I was a little upset that it was supposed to be for Bushwick, but they picked up another 100 and something there. And then also Sandy Nurse on Saturday, I was on hers. She also had a workforce, and that was also very well. So there's no excuse that there's no jobs. So believe me, we got to get together. And then the Parks and Permits Committee, Environmental Protection, May 14. And then I think that is it. So I have been busy. I will be on vacation as of Friday, so don't call me. No, I'm only kidding.
Is there anything from Mr. Camacho? Going once, going twice? If not, Assemblymember, did you have additional remarks this evening?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I mean, I answered in question. I wasn't able to.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm going to be very quick and painless. So just we talked about the nightlife situation that's happening. But I also wanted to touch up. I heard that there was some concerns about the parade. Believe me, the committee is working extremely hard to make sure that the parade is what it is. It's a parade. Unfortunately, it's getting bigger and bigger every year. And as the years go by, we have to start rethinking and redeveloping the way this parade is going to take place. At this point, if we try to take this parade away, that's going to be a problem. Furthermore, this parade has a meaning behind it. It's not just because we want to party over it. I think most people have that misconception. This parade was done because we were barricaded for over 15 years. Puerto Ricans cannot celebrate the culture in Bushwick. And nowhere else was that done. Yeah, that's very disrespectful. And so a committee of us, including Camacho, decided that we were going to start this parade. If there are any issues with the parade, I think you should come and talk to the person that's organizing, which is Debbie Villanueva. And then we could give you the rundown of what's really happening in this parade and what we're doing to make it better. But, you know, listen, I'm up here in Albany. I think everybody sees and reads the news. We have been working. I only go home for one day because Fridays I work. So I only have Saturdays. We have yet to pass the budget. We started with the first bill today. It was supposed to be passed April 1st. So that tells you everything. But at the same token, once it's passed, I can go over, if you allow me, community board, to go and share a lot of the things that we want to do and are going to do, and hence is the reason why this budget is extremely late, because we've been fighting 1,000% to make sure that things, don't get out of control in districts like mine. But to all the chairs of the community board, thank you for presenting. I'm super proud of the work that you guys are doing. And, I'm here if you need help with anything, I'm here. But particularly before this parade, if you have any concerns, I'm right here. Please do ask, because the police does not work by themselves. We have many volunteers, and we have interrupters that are going to be part from all over Brooklyn that are going to be part of the parade. So things are going to look a little different this year. But I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Maritza. Thank you. Anyone has any? Oh, wait, we have someone right here.
Yeah, coming up to the mic.
Zachary Hendrickson, CB4. Not a question. Please keep holding the line, fighting the good fight. Thank you.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said hold the line, fight the good fight, tax the rich. Thank you.
That's what we're doing. That's part of the budget. That's why we're holding it up. New York for all, tax the rich, all of that is part of it. Okay, so we've been holding the line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. We'll move on to the district. Go ahead, Courtney.
Oh, I just wanted to ask, Camacho, is there any way that we can send anything to Joanna's family?
I haven't. I know her daughter. I know Celeste has been, as some of the board members has been talking to her daughter. So we'll keep everyone posted, because we don't. I don't want to jump the gun. I want to make sure that if we do something right, and according to what the family wants.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, she was also one of our honorees on Shape of Bushwick, so.
And before today, her daughter was supposed to be there to receive the award, and so we will be following up to see what they intend to do, just given the circumstances. All right, I don't see any other hands on Zoom. I'm going to move into my report. I will keep it even briefer, because I know we are running short on time. So I usually say good evening, happy belated Mother's Day, happy to all of the things that have happened this month. Also, phenomenal news, everyone. Get ready, drum roll. I can't even do a drum roll. Someone do it for me. Thank you, thank you. I'd like to welcome Luis Munive, our new Assistant District Manager.
Hi, Luis.
Such a relief. Some of you may recognize him from his previous work within the community. We're very happy to have him join the district office team. Additionally, there are 16 new board members appointed in April. Welcome to all of them. If folks wouldn't mind, if you're still here, if you can just line up and just introduce yourself really quickly so we know who you are. New board members just appointed. Please come up to the middle and just say your name, introduce yourself. Welcome, welcome. Let's give them a round of applause.
Hi, I'm John Stanesco.
Juan Sarati.
Joanne Wu. Crystal Vargas.
Hi, Naima Hawk.
Yefim Vedernikov.
And Mike Varley.
All right, there were some, yep, come on up, come on up.
Eunice Santiago.
Welcome, Eunice. All right, and there are a few more folks that were here earlier. I also just want to acknowledge, I was going to save this for new business, but I'll just say it now. There were some folks that were concerned about the weather, and I just want to remind everyone, when I made that announcement earlier, it is the board's decision, right? So if there's something that needs to happen, if there's an emergency, the board can always make a motion to adjourn this meeting early and to address what's happening. I wanted to acknowledge what was going on. By no means were we trying to move forward as though nothing was happening, but we have very limited options and there was still business on the table. But if folks feel moved in the future, barring like literal a downpour in this room, we will likely keep moving forward. But please feel free to make that motion. Let us know if you want to adjourn this meeting early. That is the board's right. I just want to be very clear about that. All right. Denise Rosario, the Executive Director for the Coalition for Hispanic Family Services, was recognized by City and State as a nonprofit trailblazer right here in Bushwick. Congratulate her. It was also the Brooklyn Co-op's 25th anniversary. They have a new location at 1308 Myrtle Avenue. We were invited to participate. I let them know we'd be here, but please feel free to congratulate them the next time you're passing by. And then I will just summarize a few things that Mr. Camacho did not mention already. We are still speaking to the National Civic League about civic participation and better public meetings. They came, we had a QR code last month. They'll be giving us some research. There was also 2 press conferences about Broadway. Our elected officials, Ben mentioned this in his report, have continued to invest and allocate funding to support that district need. And so we appreciate them for taking the time and inviting us to be there. Also, there was a meeting with the Assistant Chief Vasquez from Patrol Bureau Brooklyn North. Very important to keep the connection both to the precinct and the borough. Mr. Camacho was there, as was Annette Spellin, our Public Safety Chair, Elvina Davis, former board member and current A3 Precinct Council Community Council President, Bishop Clark, the Clergy Council President, and Anita Haynes, Bushwick Safety Stakeholder and longtime resident. I spoke to Talia Schwartz, Nor, from Open Plans. Some of you may know Open Plans. They're advocating. They've been very influential in encouraging people to join community boards. They are doing a separate project about the future of local democracy, and they want to make the community boards are clearly a part of that, and I think that that's just a conversation that they're just starting. So happy to be connected to them. I also spoke with Lena Saad from the NYC Council Planning and Land Use Division. This was about specifically 132, 136 Melrose Street application, but we also chatted a little bit. They had questions about how the board feels about industrial land, because they know that this often is a sticking point for the community board, and what the reality of what that might look like in the future could be, just given the limitations with the market. And then Christopher Yap from SYEP, the Police Athletic League, stopped by the office for a site visit. We will be hosting a summer youth intern in the office again. And that concludes my report. You're at recommendations. And so I believe we have economic development, housing, and land use. Do folks need a recap, or do someone feel comfortable making a motion? What's your motion, Ms. Spellin? Ms. Spellin makes a motion to support the committee's recommendation. By name? Felix Ceballos seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Unanimous. Thank you. All right, and then we have permits and licenses. Do folks need a recap? I see shaking heads. Does anyone want to make a motion for a blanket vote?
I and Guiney make a motion for a blanket vote.
Ann Guiney makes a motion for a blanket vote. Is there a second? Cindy LeBron seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any abstained?
I, Z, abstain.
Okay, thank you, Z. Any opposed to the blanket vote? Motion carries with 1 abstained. And now a motion for the recommendation.
I and Guiney make a motion to accept the committee's recommendations.
Ann Guiney made a motion to accept the committee recommendations. Virgie Jones seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Raul Rubio abstains. Anyone else abstains or opposed?
I abstain, Z Navoa.
Gotcha, Z. Okay, that's 2 abstentions. If there's no one else, this motion carries. Thank you. And I believe that's it for recommendations this evening. Next, we have old business. There's one item that we've talked about before in this meeting, which is the legislation to term district managers. It is back in the City Council being reviewed. We will be providing more information in the coming weeks. However, just want to make sure that the board is aware. The council member who originally sponsored this legislation is now the deputy speaker, and so has made this legislation part of the mission, to see it through in the council. There's also legislation for council members to be able to appoint directly, so not just have the borough president appoint with their recommendation, but to just automatically appoint members. So both of those items will be reviewed. We've been encouraged to provide testimony as a board, and so please be prepared to receive more information about that.
And I have a personal comment on myself in regards to what they're doing. They're gerrymandering to turn around and tell this community who to choose as an employee, when under the city charter says that there are community boards. There are CBOs that are getting federal funding money or city or state funding and not doing their due diligence. So why are we not terminating the CEOs of these non-for-profits that are getting ching-ching money? But they want to come here and terminate volunteer people that made this community what it is, and we selected our district manager. So be careful what you wish for, because you will get it. I'm letting y'all guys know you will get it, and it's not going to be good. Because we have a good, because Manhattan or other places don't have a good manager, and this council, the council person that is in charge now, don't have a good rapport with them. He wants to create an environment and paint everybody, community with the same brush. And it's sad. Because when nobody wanted to be in Bushwick and it was burning and we were crackheads and dope fiends, now everybody want to come here, Christopher Columbus syndrome, and push the natives out that made this place what it is. And I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to let y'all know there are people here, we got to make sure, that are doing the right thing and volunteering doing the right thing and making sure that the community is represented, all of us, one side of Broadway, the other side another. But to term limit our district manager, imagine what's going to happen. Imagine. Could you ever imagine? They're picking and choosing people. You talk about gerrymandering with lines and getting rid of our people. What do you think's going to happen now when you start picking people and putting people in places?
If I may, Mr. Camacho, just to wrap this up, and thank you for those comments. The way the legislation is written, to my understanding, is that it's not a term limit, it is a term for review. So they are now enforcing, even though boards already have policies to do professional reviews on an annual basis, they are now mandating every 4-year review where the board can decide whether to keep or dismiss the district manager after 4 years. And the borough president would have the ability to fire a district manager whenever. That is what is being proposed in this legislation. So clearly there are some concerning factors here, and we will be following up to make sure everybody has the information they need to review it, and then details on how to provide feedback and testimony, and then the board may prepare information. I see some hands on Zoom, Gio, and then Courtney.
Hi, Gio Justiniano, CB4. I mean, you already said that you'll provide more feedback, more information on how we could provide feedback, but I was wondering if there's a way we could provide testimony or written testimony, like not in favor or sharing our disagreement with this legislation.
So I'm going to send an email. This is just the initial announcement. We found out yesterday that this is potentially going on a hearing agenda sometime in June. A date has not been sent yet. It is possible that it won't be put on the calendar, but I would suggest if folks have strong feelings about this initially, writing to your council members is a good first step.
Oh, and my quick question is, when you say they, who are they proposing gets to decide who gets to be the district manager?
So they are only proposing in this legislation a 4-year review period. So every 4 years, the district manager, this is my understanding of the legislation. I don't know if it's been changed since it was originally proposed, but every 4 years, the board would basically be mandated to have a review where they decide whether to keep or dismiss the district manager.
So we would be able to make that decision, not them, correct?
Yeah, correct. It's the board that's ultimately deciding, so, but there's no other
Okay, that's a little
guidance
less
or,
worrying. I thought you
yeah,
were saying
HR
the council
support.
got to decide.
Right. So it may be alarming for, different circumstances. Every board is very different, but still the fact that they're creating legislation with no clear parameters or support HR-wise, I think raises some flags, as Ann put it earlier. We don't have to color the flag, but definitely raises some flags.
I think it's worrying that the borough president can just remove a district manager when the community decided.
Absolutely. May not
Yeah,
even be
that
legal.
part is worrying.
They're not involved in the hiring process. But for the sake of everyone wanting to go home, I thank you all for your supportiveness. I also recognize we're after 9, so I will respectfully move us forward with, if there's no other old business, go ahead, Ms. Spellin. You have old business? Oh, it's new. Go ahead. New. We're at new. Go ahead.
Hi, Annette Spellin, Chair of Civic, Public Safety, and et cetera, Committee. I just want to point out to you that since my last committee meeting, we've had 3 fires. You often hear Mr. Camacho and I mention fires in Bushwick. We were raised in Bushwick. We were here when Bushwick burned, and we're starting to get a little nervous about it again. We had 3 fires, one which involved 4 houses on one block. One of the things that the fire department is emphasizing now and asking everyone to do, if there is a fire within your home, please close the door. We know that you get upset, you're panicking, but you gotta close the door. That will save people's lives, that will save some of your property, okay?
All right, I see no one else in person for old business, going once, going twice, no one on Zoom. Oh, sorry, new business, my apologies. That was for new business, going once, going twice. And we're at announcements. I imagine folks want to make this a minute tonight. Is there a motion for a minute? Yep. Someone want to make a motion? Or Christian Celeste makes the motion. Is there a second? Second by who? Raul Ubio seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 1 minute, folks. We're sorry. We thank you for being here. But you can do it. You have so much practice.
You can do it. I know you can.
First, my name is Juanita James. I'm with the Brooklyn Public Library, Washington Urban Branch. We have all our flyers in the back. We also have our the soccer live football at our branch. The flyers in the back. My card is in the back. Good night.
Good evening, everyone. Kim Vega from Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez's office. I do want to share we're having a community health fair on Friday, May 29th from 2 to 5 p.m. It's going to be on Ellery Street between Broadway and Beaver. And we also have HPD coming to the district on June 18th. If anyone's interested, it's from 10 to 5. And that's it from us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm here representing the Office of the Brooklyn Borough President, Antonio Reynoso, and I just want to let you all know that the Borough President, Reynoso, is proud to announce that nominations are now open for the 2026 Pre-K through 12 Graduation Awards. So school administrators are invited to nominate students until Monday, June 1st at 5 p.m. And this year, all of the ULURP hearings will be taking place on the second Wednesday of the month. There are flyers on the table over there. And in general, please reach out to our Constituent Services Office if you are struggling with the changes to SNAP benefits, and our Constituent Affairs team will advise you. Thank you.
Hi, Brizzo Torres of the Good Collective. On a lighter note, if you'd love to pull up for our local kids and teens with a very rare, high-quality education program, we have an initiative, Team Bushwick. We're trying to get folks to pull up, local businesses, neighbors, families, to help fund 60 summer camp spots. We've taken kids to land Broadway, so we do mean high-quality education, absolutely tuition-free. Music, theater, dance, visual arts. It's $750 roughly to fund 1 week of camp. Last year, we helped fund 49 spots. Let's do the math. This year, we're doing 60, but with your support, any local businesses, you can sponsor a full scholarship, donate any amount, host a donation bucket, or pull up. We're artist-led, so best believe we know how to throw events in honor of pulling up for our kids, so let's get to raising some funds so these kids can have a great summer. Thank you. See
We
us. We
love you,
have our flyers
Brito.
here. Come see us.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start off by saying happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers in the room. I want to start off by thanking Chairman Camacho and Celeste for being at our check presentation a couple weeks ago. The Congresswoman, alongside Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, presented a check to DOT for $1,850,000, which will go towards repaving Broadway. As a collective, thanks. As a collective, alongside our council member Sandy Nurse and Borough President Antonio Reynoso, we urge DOT to fully fund this very long overdue project. So that funding was for fiscal year 26. We're now in fiscal year 27, our last fiscal year as the Congresswoman is retiring. But this time, the majority party placed many restrictions on what we can and cannot fund. As I said, it's our last round, and there were many restrictions, but we're able to submit many projects across the district that will positively impact our community. One of them being $5 million request to bring the Wilson Avenue subway station to full compliance with the ADA. The funds will go towards installing elevators and other accessibility improvements for customers who are disabled. Remember, this is just a submission. We will find out if it is fully funded when the full budget passes. With that being said, thank you so much. If you need any assistance with a federal agency, please call our office at 718-599-3658. Stay dry and have a good night. Go Knicks. Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Danielle Chambers. I'm from Calvary and St. Cyprian's Episcopal Church. But as a community neighbor, I just want to make this very important announcement. Early voting. Please, we have not talked about it. Early voting starts on the 13th, Saturday, I believe, or Sunday, Saturday the 13th of June. Please, please. It is a very important vote. It's a number of selections, and I can't, I guess, according to protocol, I should not discuss it any further, but take a look at who is up for Congress, look at who is up for
Nancy Keith. Red Kadetsky. Giovanni Justiniano.
Present. Sorry, the volume cut out.
Luisa Jose. Tara Jones Thomas. Bergie Jones. Courtney Henley is excused. Zachary Hendrickson.
We out.
Present,
Eva
Courtney.
Hawk. Ann Guiney. Christopher Graham. Jason Gares. Alan Gamboa. Esteban Duran. Kimberly Colclough, Andrew Choi,
Present. Also
Felix
Celeste
Ceballos,
said that she was present as well.
Robert Camacho, Latif Bunting, Deborah Hicks, George Benjamin, Paula Monzar, Isa Abdi. Motion to
Celeste, the
adjourn.
sound was off. This is Z Navoa.
Anyone? Someone say your name.
Z Navoa. Celeste, we
Zena
couldn't
Bowe
hear
makes the
you.
motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Raul Rubio seconds. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions?
All right.
9:21. Good night, everyone.
Good
Go
Good
night.
home.
night.
Welcome, Louis.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night,
Celeste,
everyone.
make sure you
Very
mark us
grateful to
present.
have you.
Oh, yeah,
Time is
I don't know.
off.
I don't think they even heard us. Good night. Good night, everyone.